Hello everyone, and welcome back to another video. This is the 13th episode of the story, where Naruto is raised by Jiraya and Tsunade. Remember to like, share, and subscribe to the channel after watching the video. So, let us begin. Many years ago, this is hell, Obito cried, as he clutched Rin's lifeless body close to him. Rin. It might not be my place to tell, Guru mentioned. But there's a chance that you might see Rin again. Obito stopped crying, and perked up his head. Really? He asked, his voice dripping with desperation. Just like Guru had expected. Yes, we can do something to make sure you see Rin again, Guru continued. What is it? Come on, there's no time to waste. Obito desperately pleaded. It's not that easy, Guru replied, much to Obito's dismay. It's a long and hard procedure, that demands a lot of effort and resources. If we are to do this, it has to be under one condition. Whatever. I'll do anything. Obito cried. You must become a servant of Madara-sama, and do absolutely everything he says. There's no other way, Guru stated. Yes. I'll do anything he wants. But please, help me save Rin. Obito pleaded. If Guru had a mouth, he would have smirked. Oh, Madara was going to be so pleased with this development. Alright then, listen closely, this is what we need to do first, return to the lair with the body. A friend of mine will create a decoy corpse to fool Konoha. Time is of essence. Right. Obito stated, renewed determination coursing through his body. The one-eyed Uchiha carefully held Rin's body, and both he and Guru returned to Madara's secret hideout. Once there, they approached the elder Uchiha, and explained him what had happened. Madara didn't say anything, he just stared at the young girl's body for a few moments, as if studying it. Can you help her? Obito asked, almost in a pleading tone. Madara carefully inspected the body once more, before stating his verdict. This wound is too grievous, Obito felt his heart sank. No, it couldn't be possible. If Madara had saved him, he could save her. But I'd say she isn't beyond saving, Madara concluded. Obito sighed in relief, and smiled. He looked at his younger clansmen. However, if I'm to do this for you, I need you to do something for me. I'll do whatever, I don't mind. Obito quickly answered. You can't go back to Konoha anymore. You must remain here, and serve me. Be an extension of my will, Madara began, sounding rather ominous. His withered lips curved into a smile. Don't be afraid, I'm not asking you to become my slave, but the tool that I'll use to reshape a world into a better place. I'll do anything you ask me, Obito sincerely replied. Madara's smile widened. Good then. I think it's about time we try that jutsu. The two Uchiha and the Zetsu brought Rin to one of the lair's empty chambers. They placed her on the ground, and 8 Zetsu surrounded her in a big circle. Vines emerged from the Zetsu's midsection, as if they were umbilical cords, and started to wrap around Rin, covering her in layers of vines. Then, the 8 of them performed the same seal sequence in perfect synchronization. Would release, majestic cocoon of divine rebirth. The mass of vines started to glow with a green light, and merged into a shapeless radiant mass, which began to grow, and took an oval shape. And the glow ceased. There was now a pulsating green cocoon, connected to the 8 Zetsu through vines. There was a tense moment of silence. Well? Madara asked to no one in particular. It's working, boss, one of the Zetsu replied. It's stable. Soi's Rin going to be okay? Obito asked, almost pleading. She will be more than just okay, a very pleased Madara replied. The cocoon will not only bring her back to life, it will infuse her with the power and life force of Hashirama Senju. Once the process is complete, she will have a power most people can only dream of. So is she going to be like me, then? Obito asked. You could say that, Madara replied with a nonchalant shrug. How long will it take? Obito asked once again. I don't know for sure, but such a delicate and complex process like this one could take many years, Madara told Obito in an almost chiding tone. Can you wait that much? Obito, however, didn't look deterred in the slightest. I prefer to wait a long time to see her again, than never seeing her to begin with. No matter how much it takes. Madara smiled once again. Good. Patience is an invaluable virtue. Now, I fulfilled my side of the bargain. I hope you're ready to fulfill yours. Once again, Obito's face reflected nothing but determination. Konoha let Rin die. You saved her. My loyalty will always be with you, Madara-sama. Excellent. Then come. There's much to plan, and I don't have much time left. Hokage's tower. Present time a select group of people had been gathered inside the Hokage's office, these people being the Hokage, Jiraya himself, his predecessor, Hiruzen Sarutobi, a trio of jonin composed by Kakashi, Asuma and Kurenai, and lastly, Rin Noara herself. I don't remember much between the time of my death, she uneasily said, as she glanced at Kakashi, who tensed up in return, and my resurrection. When I came out of that cocoon it felt like waking up from a dream or a nightmare, given the circumstances. The first thing I saw was Obito. I didn't recognize him right away, given that he was a full-grown adult, but it took me no time to recognize some of his most prominent features. I was confused. I had so many questions like where I was, why Obito was an adult, who or what were those weird pale naked guys. She said that it was a time to celebrate, that I was dead but not anymore, and how everything would be better now. However, answers never came. Obito pretty much locked me inside a room, claiming that it was too dangerous out there. I thought that a catastrophe of epic proportions had broken out, given how paranoid he looked. He visited me at least once per day, and asked me how I was or if I needed something. Yet he refused to do the only thing I ever wanted, which was to come back here. Do you know what jutsu Obito used to bring you back to life? Hiruzen asked. Despite knowing that the dead should be left in peace, he couldn't repress some morbid curiosity about a jutsu that could bring people back from the dead for real, not like the impure world resurrection. Rin shook her head. I know it involved a cocoon, but nothing else. Besides, I don't think I came back as myself. What do you mean? Kurenai asked. The resurrection process, it didn't just revive, might changed me, Rin cryptically stated, as she looked at her hands. I can't put it into words, but I feel different. For once, I don't need to eat anymore. Many eyebrows were raised. Come again? Hiruzen asked. It took me a couple days to notice that they didn't bring me any food. Yet I never felt hungry. I still need to drink, but my cell had running water, Rin explained. She shivered, hugging herself. I'm afraid I may not even be human anymore. Don't worry, I'll make sure Tsunade runs regular tests on you to make sure there's nothing to worry about, Jiraiya interceded. Given that you were a prisoner of Obito, you don't know that much about his or Akatsuki's plans, do you? Asuma asked. Rin shook her head once again. No. But I'm okay if you want a Yamanaka to scan my mind. Maybe I saw or heard something that I don't remember. We will do that too, Jiraiya replied. Oh, I just remembered something. I think it's important, Rin spoke up. When I came out of the cocoon I remembered there was a second one. Obito was trying to revive a second person? Kurenai asked. Could it be Minato? Hiruzen guessed. Kakashi shook his head. Unlikely. As much as it pains me to admit it, Obito was the one behind the Nine Tails attack 13 years ago, which resulted in Sensei's death. It would make no sense for him to want to resurrect Sensei when he was the one who indirectly killed him. Rin looked at Kakashi with apprehension. On the way back to Konoha, she was informed of several major events that happened during her absence, among them, the Nine Tails attack, the Uchiha insurrection, and more recently, the Sound invasion. And Obito played a part in all three. Like Kakashi, she couldn't believe how much Obito had fallen. When I saw Obito other than being an adult, what shocked me the most was how miserable he looked. His eyes, which once were so full of joy and enthusiasm, reflected nothing but sadness and despair. Rin began. Obito was there when I killed you, Rin, Kakashi calmly stated. Rin gasped, and looked at Kakashi, covering her mouth with her hands. No. That can't be, but he was. I think seeing me killing you broke him, Kakashi said with a ting of sadness. Obito was naive and idealistic. He did kill, but seeing somebody he was so close to being killed affected him greatly. I think we can discuss what to do about Obito later. For the time being, Rin, you will be kept here in the tower, while we try to come up with a proper explanation as for how you came back from the dead, Jiraya stated. Understood, Hokage-sama, Rin replied. Okay, everybody else, you're dismissed. I need a lot of things to do before I leave, Jiraya mentioned. Naturally, this caused everybody to shoot him deservedly questioning looks. Jiraya, what do you mean you're leaving? Hiruzen asked. Oh, yeah, I didn't tell you yet, hee, Jiraya awkwardly laughed. Don't worry, it's nothing long-term. I remembered I promised Pa and Ma I would return to Mount Mayaboku and finish my sage training. Sensei, I hoped that both you and Tsunadeheim could fill for me while I'm absent. Hiruzen sighed heavily. I don't think we have much of a choice. But I wish you informed us of this decision sooner. You're not leaving in the best moment. I know, that's why I want to make sure I do as much as possible before leaving, Jiraya apologized. Finally, everybody else left the office. A couple minutes later, the door opened again, revealing Jiraya's most recent battle partner. Hokage-sama? Anko said, uncharacteristically timid. May I enter? Of course, Anko. Jiraya's serious demeanor wasn't that usual either. I'm sure you know why I called you. You can court-martial me later, Anko sourly echoed. I knew those words would come back to bite me in the ass. Yes, Anko. Even if I don't think I could have come out of that fight alive without your help, you still disobeyed a direct order from the Hokage, so there has to be consequences. What you did is high treason, and it's punished by death. Anko gulped, and shot Jiraya a pleading look that pretty much screamed, you can't be serious. However, there were mitigating circumstances. Like I just said, if you didn't help me I might have died, so I'm going to take that into account, Jiraya continued. Anko relaxed a little, but she was still tense. So instead of being executed, you shall be demoted to genin for the next 2 years, and you shall be expelled from the torture and interrogation department. You may rejoin them once your sentence has been completed. Anko let out a sigh, half of relief, and half resignation. While she wasn't looking towards the next year, it was better than the alternative. Guess that I can't complain. Doing D-rank missions is still preferable to dying, Anko said. Jiraya smirked. Oh, I don't plan to waste a kunoichi of your skill walking dogs and painting fences. Let's say that I have another task way more fitting for somebody of your background and skills. Anko didn't know how to take that, but she was fearing it wouldn't be anything good. Naruto woke up with a killer headache. He didn't remember much of the last few hours, but the little he remembered wasn't pleasant. As his senses slowly returned to him, he realized that he was in a vaguely familiar chamber, with an incredibly damp floor. This was a place that Naruto had visited at least once, and he wasn't exactly happy to be here again. So you finally wake up, brat, a deep, booming voice welcomed him. But then again, you aren't truly awake. Naruto stood up, and looked at the Nine Tails, staring at him from the other side of the gate that kept him in check. While the last time he met the fox, his tenant was rather cranky and angry, now he looked much more calm, and strangely enough, eager to talk to him. 9 tails? Naruto groaned. What are you, hey? What do you mean that I'm not truly awake? The tailed beast chuckled. It means exactly what I said. You're in a coma after sustaining nearly fatal injuries. Naruto paled. What? The 9 tails chuckled even further. Oh, that reaction was just too good. Don't worry, you'll wake up shortly. In the meantime, I think we could take advantage of this parenthesis, to talk. Naruto crossed his arms, and raised an eyebrow. Now you want to talk? He asked, skeptical. What made you change your mind? Tell me, Naruto, what do you remember of the past few hours? The 9 tails asked, ignoring the blonde's questions. Do you remember fighting Sasuke Uchiha? And I'm not talking about your stupid Chunin exams. Actually yeah, I have some vague memories of me and Sasuke duking it out, Naruto uneasily admitted. I thought it was a dream but it seems it wasn't. Oh, you can bet it wasn't, the 9 tails confirmed. You've got hit by one of those Sharingan mind control jutsu. A particularly strong one, might I add. I was mind controlled? Naruto asked in disbelief, before growing a bit pensive. Guess that explains the feeling. This seemed to grab the 9 tails' attention, who moved closer, as close as the steel bars allowed him to, before saying, oh, do tell. How did you feel? It was weird, Naruto began, as he tried to put his memories in order. On one side, it felt that what I was doing was the right thing, but on the other side, there was a part of me that knew that it was wrong and begged me to stop, almost as if my mind was split in two, with both halves fighting against each other, but one of them overpowering the other. And now that I realize what I've been forced to do, I feel so manipulated and angry. The 9 tails bared his sharp teeth in what very few people would consider a smile, regardless of the beast's intention. This wasn't unnoticed by Naruto, who looked annoyed at the fox. Does this look funny to you? But given it's you, it shouldn't come as a surprise, Naruto spat, as he crossed his arms. If I wanted to laugh at you, I would have picked a different topic, the 9 tails replied. Trust me, a buffoon like you has endless possibilities when it comes to mockery. Then why are you so interested? You never want to talk with me about anything. Were you mind-controlled too or what? Naruto asked. Upon seeing the 9 tails' silent reaction, a realization dawned upon him. You were mind-controlled. When? How? I don't think it was possible to do such a thing. The Kyuubi's smile disappeared, as he rested his head over his crossed front paws. His eyes narrowed in anger, though Naruto could tell that the monster's anger wasn't directed at him. You asked me earlier why the Valley of the End irks me so much, the 9 tails began. While you humans gave it that name, for me it wasn't the end, but the beginning. Beginning? Of what? Naruto asked. Of my torment. Of my life as a prisoner. Of me joining my siblings' ranks as living weapons, the 9 tails bitterly said. Then again, it could also be the end. The end of my freedom, and of my happiness. If father could see what have been of us, Naruto was taken aback upon hearing the last line. You have a father? Are there more giant multi-tailed foxes out there? The 9 tails growled, but left that question unanswered. Tell me, kid, are you aware of the history behind that place? It was formed during the last fight between the first Hokage and Madara Uchiha, Naruto began. The intensity of the battle was so great, it changed the landscape forever. The 9 tails waited expectantly for Naruto to continue, but the blonde remained silent. After a few moments, he started to look at him awkwardly. The Kyuubi realized that he wasn't going to get anything out of his jailer. That's it? The 9 tails asked. Yes? I don't think there's more to that story, Naruto replied. The Kyuubi groaned. Of course they kept the truth hidden from you. And probably from most people, but that's irrelevant now. Let's take a different approach. Do you know what was of me before I was sealed inside you? The 9 tails asked. Yes. You were sealed within my mother, Kushina Uzumaki, Naruto replied. His expression grew somber. Whom you killed alongside my father the day I was born. The Nine Tails smiled once again. So they did tell you about her. Good, then everything might not be entirely lost. And before that? Do you know who was my Jinchuriki? Mito Uzumaki, the first's wife, and my adoptive great-grandma, Naruto replied, much to the Kyuubi's delight. And before you ask, I know she was the first Jinchuriki to hold you. It seems that you at least are aware of your predecessor's history, the Kyuubi observed. And tell me, brat, do you know how Mito became my Jinchuriki? Naruto opened his mouth to speak, but was forced to close it just as quickly. Now that was a very good question. Tailed beasts are among the most powerful beings which ever lived. How do you even capture one and seal it inside a human? He tried to think for a couple minutes, but came up with no answer. Don't force that minuscule organ you call brain too much, it won't do you any good, the Nine Tails began. Since there's no way for you to know this, so I'll have to tell you. Mito became my Jinchuriki the night Hashirama and Madara fought. Naruto was once again taken aback. What? But that makes no sense. How did you dash? I was the last of my siblings to fall prey to your loathsome race, thanks to my might and cunning intellect, the Nine Tails began. Many humans tried to capture me to harness my power, but very few managed to even find me in the first place. Until one man succeeded. His name was Madara Uchiha. The Nine Tails' voice turned venomous the moment that name left his jaws. Madara captured you? Naruto parroted. Sure, history books described him as powerful and unparalleled to all who came both before and after him, Hashirama being the exception, but being powerful enough to subdue a tailed beast on his own. Unfortunately for me, Madara had a weapon that I had no chance to defend against, and made me as helpless to him as a mere puppy, the Mangekyo Sharingan, the Nine Tails revealed. Mangekyo Sharingan? Never heard of that, Naruto admitted. Hardly surprising. The Mangekyo Sharingan is an ascended form of the Sharingan that grants the user an array of new abilities. One of them being complete control over my kind. After Madara made me his slave, he made me help him fight his longtime enemy, Hashirama. And with you at his side, Madara still lost? Naruto asked, astonished, but gleeful. Wow, the first was even more badass that history books made him to be. The Kyuubi snarled, baring his sharp teeth once again, as his eyes narrowed in anger, this time directed at Naruto. The tailed beast didn't take kindly to people complimenting one of the two individuals he hated the most, even more than any of his Jinchuriki. And do you know why, despite the overwhelming odds, Madara failed to win? Because Hashirama, despite not being an Uchiha, possessed the same ability, the Nine Tails revealed. He managed to override Madara's control with his own, and removed me from the battle. Then, once the Uchiha was dead, he brought his wife to me, and together they sealed me inside her. Wow, was all Naruto could say. Did anybody else knew about such turn of events? Jiraya and Tsunade were bound to know, given their positions within the village. And the old man Hokage as well. That's why I hate that place. And that's why even if I hate your race as a whole, I hate the Uchiha and the Senju the most, the Nine Tails said, concluding his tale. That was a fascinating story, Naruto admitted. But why are you telling me that now? Because now you can understand what I felt when Madara put me under his control. What I felt when the masked Akatsuki did the same thing to me decades later in his attempt to destroy Konoha. What the first did, Naruto began, unsure at first, but became more resolute. He had to do it. You are too dangerous. You're a threat to humanity, you said so yourself. The Kyuubi snarled once again. Yes, that's exactly what he said. Despite the fact that I never killed any human that didn't provoke me first. He feared my power, and sought to keep me under control. That day I swore that humanity as a whole would pay for what Hashirama did to me. Naruto wanted to protest, but suddenly everything started to fade to white. It seems that your time here is up, the Kyuubi observed. But even if I'm not looking towards it, we will meet again. Naruto slowly opened his eyes, seeing nothing but blurry white. As his sight became clearer by the second, he noticed he was in a white room. A hospital room, he guessed. He had never been in one, given that he was never sick nor got any kind of lasting injury that required being taken to such a place. Of course, when your mother is the best medic who ever lived, hospitals become redundant. But the redundancy appeared to be broken now. Naruto, a female voice beside him almost shouted. Naruto turned around, and saw Tsunade sitting on a chair beside him, watching him intently. "Mom," Naruto weakly said. Tsunade let out a sigh of relief. "Oh, thank goodness you're awake. I was afraid that you wouldn't come back from this one." Naruto chuckled a bit. "Oh well, you know me, nothing can put me down for long, hee," Naruto cheerily replied. Then, he remembered something. Hokage and Kaida. Where are them? Are they okay? Tsunade smiled. Yes they are. We managed to save them in time. Thanks to you and your friends. This time, it was Naruto who sighed in relief. Oh, thank goodness. Given what happened to me, I was afraid Orochimaru got away with them. Also, what about the others? Are they okay? Your friends made it back alive. Sakura and Ino required some medical attention, but they will be fine in no time, Tsunade reassured him. Naruto slumped back on his bed. Thanks Kami, everything turned out alright. And how about Konoha? How bad was the invasion? Well, sadly many ninja died, and there's plenty of material damage. But thankfully it's nowhere near as bad as the aftermath of the Uchiha insurrection. We will recover earlier than most people think, Tsunade assured. She then stood up from her chair. Speaking of, I need to tell Shizune and the twins that you're awake. Yeah, I can't wait to see them, Naruto replied. After all, he went through hell and back to save them. Hyuga Estate, as a small reward for their daring rescue of Hokage and Kaida, the members of the Konoha 15 had been granted a week worth of paid vacation, which they used to either rest or get some training. Or both, as a week was a long time. And of course, Hinata didn't want to miss this rare opportunity of spare time in order to keep bettering herself. Hinata breathed slowly, as she prepared to repeat the same move she has been practicing during the morning, under her mother and sister's expectant gazes. Getting into the proper stance, Hinata gathered some impetus as she started to spin. After the initial spin, she released chakra from every point of her body, adding to her building momentum, until she reached the proper speed. Heavenly spin. The chakra grew into a spinning blue dome, and stayed like that for 2 seconds. When Hinata stopped spinning, there was a crater in the training ground. Hikari smiled, got up from her bench, and started clapping. You did it, my daughter. Hikari gushed, as she walked towards Hinata. I knew you could master the heavenly spin if you tried hard enough. Thank you, mother, Hinata replied, panting a little. It wasn't easy. Nijinizan was right. Gai-sensei's intense training helped me achieve the proper speed needed for the jutsu. Now that you have finally grasped the heavenly spin, you have to master the 64 palm strikes, Hikari told her. And your position as heiress will be more than assured. Hinata's face dropped. Hanabi frowned, as she angrily crossed her arms. Why does Neichan have to learn those jutsu in particular? Hanabi asked. She created a new jutsu way cooler than any of ours. Isn't that enough? Hikari shook her head. Is not that simple, sweetheart. The gentle fist is as much part of the Hyuga clan's identity as the Byakugan. The clan head needs to be the embodiment of the Hyuga as a whole, so being able to perform the most advanced gentle fist techniques is always a must. Yes, mother, I understand, Hinata replied. Don't feel pressured. You still have a lot of time before you have to replace me as the clan head, Hikari reassured her. I will do my best, Hinata obediently said. You know, it would be fun if in a few years, the new Hyuga had to learn the heavenly thunderstorm, Hanabi commented. It wouldn't be surprising, Hikari answered. I'd say that there's a pretty big chance of such thing happening. Hanabi quickly turned at her mother, looking at her with eyes wide open in surprise. Really? Despite our not entirely undeserved reputation as staunch traditionalists, the gentle fist isn't written in stone, Hikari explained. Sure, the basics always remain the same, but if somebody manages to come up with an useful innovation, is integrated into our fighting style. For example, the vacuum palm is a relatively recent move, invented by your late great-uncle Tadashi Hyuga. Really? Then what did our ancestors did if they wanted to fight from a range? Use conventional ninjutsu? Hanabi asked. Hikari shook her head once again. No, they rejected that option. The Hyuga had always been a clan proud of its power, and said power resided in hand-to-hand combat. That's why ninjutsu is discouraged, even if not outright banned. However, that didn't change the fact that we were at a serious disadvantage against a ranged specialist. That's why Tadashi created a move that could cover such weakness. Even if the vacuum palm was met with some resistance by the most conservative members of our clan, it was quickly embraced by everybody else due to its sheer usefulness. I believe Hinata's combination of elemental ninjutsu with the gentle fist might follow a similar path. Speaking of which, Hanabi-chan, how is your training in fire chakra going? Hinata asked her little sister. Hanabi's face lit in expectation. Oh, it goes great. Look, the youngest Hyuga ran towards one of the nearby trees of the courtyard, plucked a leaf, returned to her sister and mother, and easily burned it off with the force of her chakra. See? I finally did it. Now I can go into more advanced exercises. Good to see that Hinata isn't the only one making progress. Good job to you too, Hanabi, Hikari complimented as she ruffled Hanabi's hair affectionately. Thanks. I'll be breathing fireballs in no time. And then, I'll create my own version of the heavenly thunderstorm, but with fire instead. Both Hikari and Hinata giggled at Hanabi's unbound enthusiasm. Well, I'm going to take a quick shower, and then leave. Today I have to help the retrieval teams to salvage whatever valuable items remain under the wreckage caused by the invasion, Hinata told them. After that, I plan to go to the hospital and see if Naruto-kun woke up yet. Do you want to come with me? Hikari smiled at her. Of course, sweetheart. We could also bring him something. After all what Naruto-kun did, it's the least he deserves. Maybe we could bring him ramen, Hanabi suggested. I don't think they have that, and he likes that as much as he likes you, Nei-chan. Hinata giggled. I'm afraid I will never replace ramen as Naruto's first love. Back at the Hokage's office, 3 genin the same age as Naruto were in front of him, watched by 2 ANBU. The 3 of them were the Oto genin that had fought against Naruto's team in the Land of Sound, and then against Hinata and Lee more recently. The 3 of them, as well as their sensei, Mizuki, had been taken prisoner to Konoha. But while Mizuki was taken to a dark and cold cell to await his execution, Jiraiya believed that there were still some hope for these youths. So, your names are Dosu, Zaku, and Kin, right? Jiraiya asked the trio. None of them bothered to reply. I'll take your silence as a yes. Do you know why you're here? Yes. Obviously, to interrogate us about our master, Kin spat. But forget about it, old man, we'll never betray Orochimaru-sama. Zaku angrily added. An ANBU squeezed his shoulder, prompting him to shut up. Jiraiya chuckled, as he laid back on his chair. If I wanted you interrogated, I'd have sent you to the aptly named Torture and Interrogation Department, Jiraiya explained. Zaku and Kin visibly gulped upon hearing about torture, but Dosu remained impassible. Besides, it's quite obvious that you're way too low on the hierarchy to know anything relevant. Then what do you want to do with us? Dosu asked. Wait, let me guess. You hope we switch sides with Konoha, like you did with that swordsman of the mist, am I right? Jiraiya smiled in satisfaction. So I wasn't wrong when I pegged you as the smartest of the three. Zaku and Kin stared at Jiraiya indignantly, but the Hokage paid them no mind. You can forget about such thing happening, Dosu continued, as if finding the very idea offensive. Orochimaru-sama gave us a life and made us strong when we had nothing. We would never betray him. Too bad your loyalty isn't reciprocated, Jiraiya stated. Listen, Orochimaru doesn't care about you. To him, you three are nothing but cannon fodder. He's an specialist in fishing out people with nothing to their name and nothing to lose to use as disposable minions. If he really was interested in you becoming more powerful, you wouldn't have been defeated by a single opponent the same age as you. Dosu couldn't help but recall Hinata's words before the pale-eyed girl knocked him unconscious. That was a good point to consider. Maybe, Zaku conceded. Even if Orochimaru-sama isn't the most caring of masters, at least he gave us something better than we used to have. You don't have to tell me. I've seen those same eyes as yours countless times, Jiraiya told them. Kids that lost everything to war, their homes, their families. Forced to live in the streets and steal to survive. Am I getting close? So what if you do? Kin spluttered. Besides, what would that say about us? To betray the man who gave us everything we have? Orochimaru wouldn't doubt about betraying you the moment you became a burden, or you weren't useful to him anymore. I can guarantee you that such thing won't happen in Konoha, Jiraiya told them. Besides, if you don't join us, the alternative is going to prison for being enemies of Konoha. Besides, don't you want to follow the same path as your sensei? He also betrayed his home village to join its enemies. Yeah, and he's going to be executed, Zaku dryly pointed out. Something that will happen to us if Orochimaru lay his hands on us again. Mizuki ended up the way he did because he had an exceedingly large ambition, and not enough willpower to see it realized on his own. What I'm offering you here is the chance to be smarter than Mizuki. Work for us, and if you don't like it, you can always go back to jail, Jiraiya offered. The sound genin looked doubtful. They traded unsure glances, until they apparently reached an unheard agreement. Dosu, who appeared to be the leader of the trio, voiced their decision. Given that you don't give us much of a choice, guess we'll have play nice and work for Konoha, Dosu said, not without resignation. Wonderful. Jiraiya heartily replied. Well, if that's the case, then maybe you should meet your new sensei. I'm sure you'll get along fine, given that like you, she used to work with Orochimaru, and hopefully, she will be able to show you how much it sucked. Enko, come in. Even with all his bandages, Dosu paled upon hearing that name. Enko? Do you mean Enko Mitarashi? The door opened with a loud slam. The one and only. Enko cheerfully said as she burst into the office. She stared at the three genin, who turned back at her, and grinned. So, you're the runts Hokage-sama asked me to train? This will be piece of cake. This has to be a joke, Kin deadpanned. Like I usually said, if I told a joke, you'd be laughing so hard you wouldn't be able to breathe, Jiraiya retorted. Now Enko, besides training, I'd also like you to show them what I means to be a pawn of Orochimaru. Enko's mouth curved into a sadistic smile. Consider it done. How much leeway do I have? As long as you don't kill, maim, mutilate, or mentally scar them for life, you're free to do as you see fit, Jiraiya replied. Understood. Come on brats. We have a lot of work to do. Enko happily ordered as she left the office, with the three reluctant former Oto ninja trailing behind her, as well as the ANBU keeping an eye on them. Being alone at last, Jiraiya sighed, and slumped on his chair. Thankfully, that was the last of the loose ends that needed to be tied. However, before the Hokage had a chance to relax, a small toad jumped out of the window, landing on the desk. Before you say anything, Pa, everything's been taken care of, and I'm ready to go, Jiraya preemptively said. But before we leave, can we just wait a little until Naruto wakes up? I want to see him again before we resume my training. Actually, that's what I wanted to talk with you about, Jiraiya-chan, Pa replied, prompting Jiraya to raise an eyebrow. Ma and I have been talking about it, and we believe Naruto-chan is ready to undertake sage training. Such proposal took Jiraiya aback, to say the least. While he had plans to have Naruto learn senjutsu, he was waiting until he was a bit older. Do you think he's ready? He's still too young, Jiraiya argued. Gamamaru-sama has been watching over him, and thinks he is. Ma and I agree with him. Besides, given how close Akatsuki were of catching him the last time, I believe Naruto-chan is going to need all the possible help we can offer, Pa explained. If you think so, then sure, Naruto can come with us, Jiraiya agreed, then chuckled. But given how restless Naruto is, I doubt he'll find much joy in the kind of training we're going to do. Uchiha training ground Sasuke was restless. Since the fight against Naruto and the masked Akatsuki, the youngest Uchiha felt an intense unease he had been unable to shake off. Training was Sasuke's main way to cope with stress, and so far, it was working, but he wondered for how long. There was just so much to process first, the fact that the masked Akatsuki was an Uchiha. He was also the fourth student and Kakashi's teammate, but that data was irrelevant to Sasuke. He was responsible for the Nine Tails attack 13 years ago, which laid the groundworks for the Uchiha insurrection to happen. Something Obito had masterminded as well. Not happy with that, he also collaborated with Orochimaru to invade Konoha. All to get the Nine Tails. While tailed beasts were powerful and highly sought after, the extents Obito had taken and the lines he had crossed were simply ridiculous. Was there something more to the Nine Tails that it's worth causing the demise of your own clan? Second, the Mangekyo Sharingan. According to Obito, Itachi and Shisui had it, yet they never told Sasuke about it. They admitted the truth when Sasuke confronted them about it, but he decided to leave and not listen to their excuses. At least for the time being. Tempted by its power, Sasuke decided to see for himself what kind of new abilities he had now. But the moment he activated his freshly awakened eye power, something happened that Sasuke didn't expect. His mind relived the moment he stabbed Naruto, and all the anguish he felt when he thought he had killed him. He tried multiple times, but the effect was the same. Deciding that he wasn't going to risk his sanity any longer, Sasuke gave up and opted instead for good old shuriken practice. Grabbing 4 shuriken in one hand, Sasuke moved his arm in an arc, tossing the steel stars in 4 different directions. Each shuriken found its mark. He repeated the process again, with the same result, and a third time. Even without the Sharingan, his aim was flawless. Sasuke sighed. This isn't working anymore. Really? I think you did pretty good job, a voice from behind said. Sasuke turned around, and saw his brother and cousin walking towards him. You know, you left before we had the time to explain ourselves, Shisui began, with an apologetic tone. We're very sorry for hiding such things from you, but we thought it wasn't necessary for you to know about the Mangekyo Sharingan, Itachi continued. In fact, we were both hoping that you would never awaken it. Sasuke crossed his arms, and frowned. And why not? So I'm always below you too in terms of power? Shisui let out a sad chuckle. You know that's not true, Sasuke. Nothing would make us happier than seeing you surpassing the both of us. Something we're sure you'll do in the future. Listen, Sasuke, the Mangekyo Sharingan is a very dark power. I'm sure you now know how to awaken it, right? Itachi asked. Sasuke nodded. And tell me, did you try to use it after you awakened it? Sasuke grew uneasy, and averted his gaze. Yeah, I did. I know what happens when you use it. The Mangekyo Sharingan is a tempting power. But making you relive the event that triggered it can drive anybody insane, even if used sparingly. That's why Shursui and I try to use it as little as possible, Itachi explained. Besides, we like to think that there's more to the Uchiha clan than a mere bunch of fancy eye powers, you know? We have to show everybody that even without the Sharingan, we're still strong, Shursui added. Besides, that's not the only drawback. Sasuke opened his eyes wide in surprise. There's more? Sadly, yes, Itachi replied. Like we said, the power of the Mangekyo comes with a price. The more you use its powers, the more will your eyesight deteriorate, until you'll end up completely blind. What? Sasuke asked in shock, as he involuntarily took a step back. How is there a way to reverse the eyesight loss? Fortunately, there is one, Itachi replied. Sasuke was almost tempted to feel relieved, but he was afraid there would be some sort of catch. If you take the eyes of a direct relative and replace yours with them, not only will your eyesight be restored, but it will never deteriorate again. So in order for such thing to happen, we must now trade our eyes. I already made an appointment with Shizen-chan for the surgery, Shursui helpfully added. After that, if you wish, I can teach you how to use the power of the Mangekyo, Itachi offered. Wait, you said you hoped I never awakened the Mangekyo. Then, if you kept using it, you would have ended up blind. Sasuke pointed out. Itachi merely shrugged. And you were okay with that? I had accepted such fate, as did Shursui, Itachi explained. Well, in my case is easier. With only one eye, I only have one of the abilities of the Mangekyo Sharingan, Koto Amatsukami notwithstanding. So the temptation is much lower, Shursui detailed. Sasuke, they say that the Uchiha is a clan cursed by hatred and darkness. And as you just learned right now, people who said that had a point. There's no other clan that needs to feel strong traumatic emotions to awake their powers. People not only fear our power, they also fear that our powers may turn us mad, as it was believed of our ancestor, Madara Uchiha. And look what it did to Obito Uchiha, Itachi explained. And those fears were realized the night our clan rebelled, Shursui added, sounding melancholic. We simply don't want you to end like them. Sasuke sighed. He turned his back at them, as he processed the words he just heard. His fingers tightly clenched into a pair of fists. Sometimes I wonder if it's worth it, Sasuke said. What do you mean? Itachi asked. All of this. The effort of reining ourselves in for the sake of people who already fear and hate us. What's the point? Maybe this is our fate. Maybe we should stop pretending to be something we aren't, and accept our nature. Maybe that's why Father decided to start an insurrection, Sasuke said, as he turned back at them. Sasuke, I know that sometimes follow the right path is hard, but trust me, it's worth it, Shursui solemnly said. Don't give up when things get complicated. Don't let yourself be tempted by somebody offering you an easier alternative. Such things will only lead to misery and unhappiness. And remember that you're not alone. You have us, among many others, to support you whenever you feel bad, Itachi added. Okay. I'll keep doing as you say. Besides, I always took pride in not giving up in the face of a challenge, Sasuke replied. Both Itachi and Shursui smiled in relief. You won't regret that decision, Sasuke, Itachi said, as he put a hand on his shoulder. Now come on, you can train later. You guys have to see the house Shizen-chan and I chose to move to, Shursui said with renewed enthusiasm. Hinata, Hanabi, and their mother Hikari entered the Konoha hospital to see how Naruto was doing. Hinata was holding a bento on her hands. While she was initially tempted to bring her boyfriend some ramen, she decided that it would be best if she brought him something a bit healthier. After all, she had to help him recover, and ramen wouldn't do the job. It's a good thing you don't have to make Naruto fall in love with you anymore, Hanabi had joked. When they entered the building and headed to the reception, Hinata saw a familiar person already there. A boy in a kimono. Thank you, the boy said to the receptionist before turning around, seeing Hinata and her family. Oh, hi there, Hinata-san. Came to see Naruto, I presume? Hinata nodded. Indeed I am, Haku-kun. By the way, let me introduce you to my little sister, Hanabi, and my mother, Hikari. Hanabi-chan, mother, this is Haku, my other teammate. Haku bowed his head before the Hyuga. It's a pleasure to meet you, ladies. Hinata-san told us a lot about you too, but I never had the chance to get to know you. Pleasure is all ours, Haku-kun. I guess that you're also here to see Naruto-kun? Hikari asked. Indeed. The receptionist told me where his room is. Follow me, Haku told the girls. The Hyuga women decided to follow Haku, who led them to a room in the third floor. The room was open, and some voices could be heard from the inside. Peeking through the door, Hinata saw Naruto, still bedridden but thankfully awake and fully conscious, talking with his little siblings, as well Shizun. The medic Nin was the first one to notice the newcomers. Shizun smiled. Oh, look at that, more people came to visit you, Naruto-kun. Huh? Naruto said, turning around, and smiled as well. Oh, hey, Hinata-hime. You came to see me, great. But don't stay there, come in. I'd love to, Booty didn't come alone, and the room is going to get a bit cramped. Nonsense. Come in. Naruto insisted. I think I'm going to get something to eat, Shizun stated, as she went to exit the room. She noticed Hinata's bento, and added, I'd ask if you want something, but Hinata already has that part covered, hee. The Hyuga heiress blushed a bit. Oh, you brought your mom and little sister. And Haku's here too. Naruto noticed. Hello to you too, Naruto-kun. Glad to see that you're feeling better, Haku greeted his blonde teammate. Huh, yes, it takes more than a mere blade to the gut to put me down. Naruto boasted. A blade to the gut? Hikari asked in shock. The Hyuga matriarch activated her Byakugan, and saw that Naruto's gut didn't have any injuries. There's nothing left of that wound. You can thank Hinata-hime for that. She healed me before I could be taken to the hospital, Naruto stated, making Hinata blush a little, before she averted her gaze. You hit was nothing. I only did my duty, Hinata shyly stammered. Dear Kami, even after the two of you became a couple, you're still so awkward and shy. Kaida pointed out, shaking her head. That's how my Nei-chan is, she can't help it, Hanabi agreed, shrugging. Hanabi-chan, a flustered Hinata called her. Come on Hanabi, don't be so mean, Hikari said. Heh, it's okay. I think that Hinata's cute when she's all shy like that, hee, Naruto chuckled. Rather than embarrass her even further, Naruto's comment brought up a smile to the shy Hyuga. She then remembered the bento still in her hands, and as an added bonus of changing the topic, she handed it to Naruto. Here, I made this for you. Hinata said as she handed the item to the blonde. Hospital food isn't that good, so I thought it would make your stay here a little better. It's not ramen, though. Oh, Naruto deflated a little, his hopes dashed away, but it didn't last long. It's okay. Everything you cook tastes so great, so I'm sure I'll enjoy it. Thanks a lot. You're welcome, Naruto-kun, Hinata happily replied. You know, seeing Nei-chan and Naruto makes me want to have a boyfriend too, Hanabi mentioned out loud. Have you thought in dating Hagane? He's a great catch. Kaida said, pushing her brother towards Hanabi. Hey! Don't I get a say in this? Hagane indignantly protested. Nope, was Kaida's reply. You kids are too young to start dating. Give it a few years, Hikari started, putting an end to the topic. Trust me, you don't want to grow up too fast. By the way, Haku, Naruto began, realizing of something the last time he saw the ice ninja. That bone guy looked really tough. How did you manage to defeat him between Tenten, Karanichan and you? We didn't, was Haku's brief response, confusing Naruto a bit. Thankfully, Zabuza-sama appeared in the nick of time to save me from what it would have been an horrible fate. After that, we left and tried to meet you and Hinata-san again, but we didn't find you until much later. Did Zabuza-san beat him? Hinata asked. Haku shook his head. Technically speaking, Zabuza won the fight, but sadly he was unable to kill or capture the man, who managed to escape. I'm afraid we will see him again in the future as well. Nijinizan told me the same about the kunoichi he and Kiba-san fought against, Hinata added. At the very least, we won't have to worry about the other three ever again. I'm sure Orochimaru will try to recruit more people with bloodline limits in order to replace the people he lost with the invasion, Hikari gravely noted. Then we'll stop him before he has the chance to do such a thing, Naruto determinedly stated. You won't be able to do much stopping in your current state, a new voice said. Everybody turned around, and saw Jiraya standing beside the door. Fortunately, I have good news for you. Really? What is it, Dad? Naruto asked, clearly interested. You're coming with me to Mount Mayaboku for special training. The Toads have deemed you ready to undergo sage training, Jiraya announced. Hikari gasped. Jiraya realized she was the only one aware of what Jiraya was saying. Sage training? That's incredible. I didn't know that somebody so young as Naruto-kun could become a sage. Hikari exclaimed. I didn't think so either. But the Toads told me Naruto is ready, Jiraya replied. What is sage training? Naruto asked. A special kind of training that will allow you to gather and use nature chakra, besides your own. It has a large number of boons that will help you make stronger, Jiraya explained. None of the kids understood Jiraya's explanation, mostly because none of them knew what nature chakra was to begin with. But Naruto knew that it was something it would make him stronger, and that was enough to catch his interest. Besides, given how close you were to being captured by Akatsuki, you need to become as much stronger as soon as possible, Jiraya stressed. Naruto-kun won't be the only one to become stronger. I will train as hard as I can to match him as well, Hinata stated. So do I. I've seen that there are enemies out there that dwarf our skill and power so much, is almost laughable, Haku added. Good, because I'm sure Akatsuki won't give up until they have Naruto and the rest of the Jinchuriki in their power, Jiraya mentioned. Undisclosed location. Obito slowly blinked as he started to wake up. He had a hard time remembering what happened before he lost consciousness, but as soon as he made a little effort, memory started to flood his brain as if it was a torrent. Rin, Obito murmured, his heart filling with dread. Will you stop obsessing over her already? A voice tiredly said. As Obito's eyesight adjusted and became less blurry, the figure of Zetsu appeared in his field of vision. And soon, his confusion was replaced by unbridled fury. You let them take her away. Obito screamed as he sloppily lunged at his fellow Akatsuki, who easily sidestepped. Yes, I did, the white half admitted. Traitor. You were supposed to obey me. Obito screamed, as he tried to pounce at Zetsu again. This time, the plant man grabbed Obito's arm, and twisted it behind his back. Obito tried to use Kamui, but the aftereffects of the sleeping spores made him mold chakra extremely hard. That's true as well. But while Madara-sama left you in charge, he also allowed me to act on my own accord if I think you take a wrong decision, the black half stated. And frankly, you've taken quite a lot of bad decisions as of late. You could have captured the Nine Tails, but you let it escape your grip, the white half added. It was Orochimaru's fault. His stupid minions failed to keep the Konoha ninja at bay. Obito protested. Don't try to pin the blame on Orochimaru. He did what it was expected, which is more than we can say of you, Black Zetsu continued. We've noticed that the moment that girl left the cocoon, you've become far less focused and driven. She was hindering you. She's the whole reason I'm doing this in the first place. Obito loudly screamed. And now she's in danger again. Those Konoha fools will send her to die again. Relax, boss. If the process worked as intended, Rin is pretty much impossible to kill now, White Zetsu assured. You won't have to fear for her ever again. Besides, why would you? She chose Konoha over you. Clearly, you're not as important to her as she is to you, Black Zetsu added. But not everything is lost. Let's continue with the plan. When she sees the kind of just and peaceful world you plan to create, she'll soon join our side, White Zetsu added. I'm not convinced. I want our Konoha spies to keep an eye on her at all costs. I want to know when she's on a mission. I want to know when she's in danger of dying, Obito ordered. I'm not going to let history repeat again. Of course, boss. It will be done as you say, Black Zetsu replied. Satisfied with the answer, Obito left. Mostly to find out exactly where Zetsu brought him. Are we going to do that? White Zetsu asked his black half. Of course, was the other being's reply. How else are going to check the progress of our little test subject? Konoha Hospital. Next morning it was the first day of Rin's new job at the hospital. Jiraya had offered her to return to active duty as a ninja, but she had declined, arguing that she needed some time to think and ponder what to do. And given what happened the last time she went on a mission, she was arguably not ready to go back into action as well. Fortunately, Rin was a medic nin, which were always needed, so of course it wasn't hard for her to get a job at the Konoha Hospital. Granted, hospitals could be rather tense and frenetic places for obvious reasons, but they couldn't compare to a battleground. She had been assigned to tidy all the rooms that have been recently vacated. While most people would find such task bothersome and boring, Rin enjoyed the simplicity of it. It allowed the young girl much needed time to think. And she had a lot of things to think about. Yo, an unknown adult voice said. Turning around, Rin saw said voice belonged to his former teammate, now an adult. It would take her some time to get used to Kakashi's much deeper adult voice. And to a lesser extent, how her former friends and partners looked now. Having to adapt to this completely new world was something that made her feel overwhelmed, but she had to persevere. Oh. Hello Kakashi, Rin greeted him, as she continued with her work. Two came here to see how are you doing, Kakashi began. I'm fine. Thanks for asking, Rin replied. You are? I mean, Kakashi awkwardly continued. Well, I just wanted to say that if you have any problems adapting, or just feel bad about anything, you can talk to me. Rin let out a sad sigh. I'd be lying if I say everything's okay. Konoha changed so much, that when you guys brought me here, I barely recognized it. Not to mention how much you guys changed as well. Meanwhile, I'm still stuck as a little girl. Hey, don't say that. Didn't Tsunade-sama said that you would continue growing at a normal pace? Kakashi asked. She said that. But until I become an adult, seeing you, Asuma, Kurenai and the others is going to be difficult. Maybe I should befriend your students? Rin asked, before letting out a sad chuckle. They're great kids. I'm sure you'll get along with any of them just fine, Kakashi earnestly replied. Rin was a bit surprised by such a honest answer to her quasi-rhetorical question. Then again, she did met a few of them during her escape, and they looked like people worthy of getting to know better, at the very least. Anyway, remember what I said. Even if a lot of things changed, if you want to find me, I still live in the same place as when we were kids, Kakashi told her, before turning around. Well, see you later. Aren't you going to ask me about Obito? Rin suddenly asked, freezing Kakashi on his tracks. I'm tempted to. But I'm afraid of the answers, Kakashi uncomfortably replied. Your world isn't the only one who's turned upside down. While I did have a hard time accepting that both of you were still alive, it's nothing compared to having to accept that all the tragedies and disasters that happened in Konoha during the last decade and a half were orchestrated by him. We're on the same boat then, Rin sadly replied. So it seems. Well, I better get going. It's great to have you back again, Rin, Kakashi said before finally leaving. Rin sighed once again. I wish it was as great for me too. After making the bed, Rin grabbed a small watering can and went to water the potted plants on the window. The plants were still small, but in a few days, they would grow up and sport beautiful flowers. I wish I could grow just as fast, Rin moaned as she sprinkled the plants with water. Then, much to her shock, the plants started to grow and bloom before her very eyes, speeding a process of days to mere seconds. An astonished Rin dropped the watering can, and stumbled back in shock. What the hell is going on? The brown-haired girl asked. Senju residents, the entire Senju family, plus Hinata, were gathered in the house's backyard. Jiraya and Naruto were standing next to each other, carrying backpacks, while the girls, and Hokage, were in front of them, bidding them goodbye. Boy, I can wait to see Mount Myaboku. The toads I summoned made it look like an awesome place, Naruto gushed in anticipation. It's a sight to behold, kid. I'm sure you'll like it, Tsunade told him. You're not going to like the food much, I can guarantee you that, Jiraya sourly replied. I know. That's why I packed a lot of food. Including some things Hinata made me, Naruto replied. Hinata blushed a little. I want you to think in me when you're so far away. You don't need to make me food to make me think of you, Haim, Naruto sweetly said. But it will sure help a lot. Dad, when can we train to become sages? Hokage asked. When you grow up a bit more, I'm sure the toads will be more than happy to train you too as well, Jiraiya reassured him. Bring us something cool when you get back. Kaida requested. And make sure you come back for the wedding, you hear me? I won't forgive you if you miss it. Shizune energetically told them. Jiraiya chuckled. I wouldn't let anything make me miss it. Even if we take more time than intended, I'm sure Ma and Pa will understand. Hey, don't take too long with the training either. Being Hokage is your job, not mine. Tsunade protested. I bet I can complete the training in less than a week. Naruto boasted. That's a bold claim. Let's see if you back up those words once we get started, Jiraiya replied. That moment, Fukasaku appeared before them. Upon seeing that Jiraiya and Naruto looked ready, his lips curved into a smile. I see you're ready to go, then, Fukasaku guessed. Yeah, we were saying our goodbyes, Jiraiya replied. Before leaving, Hinata walked to Naruto and gave him a small peck on his lips. Good luck with your training, Naruto-kun. I already can't wait to see you back, Hinata told him. That's another incentive for finishing my training as soon as possible, Naruto said, laughing a bit. To Mount Myaboku then. Fukasaku exclaimed, and both he, Naruto and Jiraiya disappeared in a cloud of smoke, leaving the girls and Hokage alone. Mount Myaboku, wow, this place is amazing. Naruto gushed, as his eyes witnessed the natural paradise around him. The toads weren't exaggerating when they talked about this place. Glad you like our home, Naruto-chan, Fukasaku replied, as he nodded. So, are you ready to begin your training to become a sage? Naruto smiled confidently, as he punched the palm of his hand. Let's do it. End of Part 1. Omake, Shizune's Revenge. Shizune was giving the Senju residents one last look before leaving for good. She had already moved all her things to her and Shursue's new apartment, but she couldn't help feeling nostalgic and a bit melancholic for leaving the house that had been her home for so many years. I'm going to miss this place so much. It was my first permanent home after Tsunade-sama returned to Konoha for Naruto-kun, Shizune sighed. I know how you feel. I do miss the old Uchiha compound as well. But life goes on and we have to move as well, Shursui told her. But hey, it's not that you can't come back to pay Tsunade-sama and the others a visit, right? Now that you mentioned Tsunade-sama, there's something I'd like to do before I leave. Shizune then wrapped her arms around her fiancé. And I need your help for it. Shisui smiled innocently. Sure, babe, whatever you need. Shizun smiled wickedly. Hours later, Tsunade returned home from work. As she entered the house, she heard something. Moans and giggles, coming from the living room. What the? Tsunade walked towards the living room and turned on the lights. The sight before her surprised her to say the least. The hell? Oh, sorry, Tsunade-sama, we didn't think you'd come so soon, Shizun cheekily replied. Hello, Tsunade-sama, Shisui nervously greeted. Shizun and Shisui were laying on the couch, completely naked, the latter on top of the former. And while Tsunade didn't notice due to the abundant nudity before her eyes, there was a blanket covering said couch. She glared at Shizun and frowned. You're a petty brat, you know that? Tsunade snarled, before stomping upstairs. The naked couple spent a few seconds in an awkward silence before Shizun let out a happy squeal. Oh yes, revenge is sweet. I've been wanting to do that for years. Shizun said. Training Ground 9 today, two of Konoha's most promising young ninja were about to fight. Even if it was just a spar, the combatants' own reputation and the fact that they didn't clash since the Chunin exams made plenty of ninja eager to see the fight. Let's hope that this time, things turn out different, Hinata, one of the many people among the spectators, commented a bit worried. Oh don't worry, I'm sure it won't be a repeat of the last time, Naruto assured her, as he held her hand. While the year and a half following the invasion of Konoha hadn't been as chaotic as the year preceding it, it wasn't uneventful either. All of Naruto's former classmates managed to score a promotion to Chunin during the Chunin exams in Kyumo, and many of them went beyond that. Naruto himself quickly earned a promotion to Special Jonin specialized in Fuinjutsu when he mass-produced his chakra blade for the ANBU to use as their main weapon. At first, it turned out it wouldn't work since the sword drained too much chakra, but with Jiraya's help, he realized that the original model wasted way more chakra than it consumed, something Naruto didn't notice thanks to his seemingly never-ending reserves. But once he fixed that design flaw, it could be used by people with average chakra pools. In fact, Naruto himself was strong enough to be a full Jonin already, but Jiraiya thought he still needed more experience before he could grant him the rank. Hinata and Haku were also on their way to becoming Special Jonin, with specializations in Tai Ninjutsu and Ninjutsu, respectively. They're finally going to start, Naruto pointed out, as the two fighters got in position. On one side, there was Sasuke Uchiha, no longer the youngest of his clan, who during the past year managed to get promoted to the rank of Special Jonin specialized in ninjutsu and sword fighting. Besides his usual katana, he also added a shoto to his regular arsenal, which he dual-wielded alongside his main weapon. Facing Sasuke was Niji Hyuga, also a Special Jonin, though specialized in taijutsu, and the one who requested the spar to begin with, since he wanted to test a new jutsu he had developed recently. Boy, I don't know whom I should cheer, Karen whined. Niji-kun is my boyfriend, but Sasuke is my teammate. Acting as referees were their respective Jonin sensei, Shizun Uchiha and Mato Gai. Alright, combatants ready? Shizun asked, looking at both of them, who nodded at her. In that case let the fight begin. Like it happened the first time, the first thing both fighters did was activating their ocular power. And the moment the word let out Shizun's lips, Sasuke and Niji dashed towards each other at such speed they were seen as blurs by some of the onlookers. Sasuke's left hand reached for his shoto, and unsheathed it in a circular motion against Niji, who prepared to deliver an arc strike. However, Niji's opening move was a fake out, as Niji nimbly crouched and slid towards Sasuke, dodging his blade, and striking the Uchiha in the chest with an accurate palm hit. Sasuke heaved a little as he jumped backwards, holding the stricken area in pain with his free hand. He shot Niji an angry look, which was replied by a smug smirk. I believe the first strike is mine, Niji declared. Maybe, but victory belongs to those who deliver the last strike of the fight, not the first one, Sasuke replied, as he charged against Niji as once again. Knowing that Sasuke would see it coming, Niji decided to let Sasuke strike this time and then counterattack. However, he didn't expect Sasuke reaching into his tool pouch, grab a handful of shuriken and toss them at him. As quickly as he could, Niji pulled out a kunai from his own pouch, and used it to deflect the incoming steel stars. And while he was doing that, Sasuke disappeared. Thanks to his Byakugan, the Hyuga prodigy could see that Sasuke had appeared behind him, more than likely, after using the body flicker jutsu, and was about to strike. Even then, Niji was still in a disadvantageous position. Still, he wasn't deterred by Sasuke's tactic, and quickly sidestepped to avoid the incoming slash. While he was moving, Niji turned around and thrust his open palm forward. Vacuum palm. Now it was Sasuke's turn to jump back and dodge. If Niji wanted to switch to ranged fighting, the Uchiha was more than happy to oblige. He started to make hand seals with a single hand. Fire release, Phoenix Sage Fire Jutsu. Sasuke breathed from his mouth a volley of fireballs at the Hyuga prodigy, covering an area so wide that it would be impossible to dodge. Fortunately for Niji, he didn't need to dodge, and started to spin as chakra poured from every point of his body. Heavenly spin. The fireballs crashed against a spinning dome of blue chakra, which successfully blocked both the fiery projectiles and the explosions they made upon crashing. When the dome vanished, Niji was completely unharmed. "You'll need to do better than that," Niji taunted Sasuke. Sasuke sheathed his shoto, while at the same time unsheathing his katana. He also made several hand seals, again with just one hand. "I admit that's an impressive defense. But then again, there's no barrier my sword cannot cut down," Sasuke replied, almost boasting. Fire release, burning edge. The blade of Sasuke's katana was soon engulfed by a cloak of flames. His weapon now ready, the Uchiha attacked once again. Niji took a step back and adopted a defensive position once again, seemingly trying to come up with a way to counter Sasuke's attack, given that normal weapons rarely did well against elemental-enhanced ones. And much to Sasuke's surprise, he blocked the Uchiha's flaming sword with a palm strike. And to Sasuke's even greater surprise, the block was successful. Using his other hand, Niji tried to deliver another palm strike to the Uchiha, but Sasuke quickly grabbed his wrist before such thing could happen. "So you focused your chakra on your fingers in order to make your hand stronger and protect it from the flames of my sword," Sasuke stated, as he inspected the Hyuga's hand with his Sharingan. "Intelligent trick." "Oh, it's more than a mere trick." "And you haven't seen anything yet," Niji replied, as he kicked Sasuke in the chest, breaking the struggle, before quickly adopting a stance Hinata knew too well. "You're within my divination range. 8 trigrams. 64 palms. Shit." Sasuke cursed as Niji lunged at him, ready to strike. He made a hand seal one of the onlookers was very familiar with. Shadow Clone Jutsu. 2 clones of Sasuke appeared in front of him as Niji was about to attack. 2 strikes, one of the clone disappeared before he could ever record what was going on. 4 strikes, the next clone soon followed his equally short-lived brother's fate. 8 strikes. This time, the strikes landed on the real Sasuke, who groaned in pain as his chakra points were closed. 16 strikes. This time, however, Sasuke managed to successfully block and dodge all of Niji's palm strikes, and forced the Hyuga back by slashing his flame-wreathed katana at him. "You managed to interrupt one of the Hyuga clan's most prized taijutsu techniques? I'm impressed," Niji genuinely praised. "That fancy combo isn't as great as it seems once dissected through the Sharingan," Sasuke replied. "Technically, it's only a repeat of the first 16 strikes, which I managed to see when you hit both my clones and myself, thus giving me the means to counter them. That attack won't work on me again." "I wouldn't be so confident in your abilities, Sasuke. Just because you see a hit aimed at you, it doesn't mean you'll be able to prevent it in time," Niji countered, as his position relaxed. "I believe that was enough of a warm-up, don't you think so?" "I couldn't agree more," Sasuke replied, as his lips curved into a smirk. I can't wait to see that technique you bragged about so much a few moments ago. Then I won't keep you waiting any longer. Neji then crossed his arms in front of him, a position the other members of the close combat squad knew too well. He then quickly spread his arms as a burst of chakra pulsed from his body. Gate of opening, open. The resulting burst of chakra blew a powerful wind in every direction, as a green aura started to slowly appear around his body. Even those who weren't sensors could feel the resulting power boost. Whoa! Naruto said in awe. He turned at the remaining members of Team Guy. Didn't know that Neji could use the gates too. Well, it's only fitting, given that he was the only on of use that didn't learn to use them yet, Tenten replied, as she shrugged. Neji saw them as the invaluable tools they are, and requested me to teach him how to use them, Guy proudly added. Now, my team is the first ninja squad in Konoha, probably in the world, that knows how to use the celestial gates. Since Guy-sensei and Lee use the gates for their enhanced taijutsu moves, and I use them with armed combat, Neji thought he could create a new school of gentle fist by combining it. Nisan said he was inspired by seeing me combining gentle fist with elemental manipulation. Hinata chimed in, with a slight and uncharacteristic edge of pride. Well, this certainly looks like something worth seeing, an excited Naruto said as his eyes returned to the combat. While this wasn't the first time he opened the celestial gates, Neji would never stop enjoying the rush of power result of the larger amounts of chakra surging through his body. Feeling more confident than ever, the Hyuga prodigy rushed towards Sasuke, ready to strike. For his part, the Uchiha could barely dodge the much faster Neji's palm strike, and would have been unable to if it wasn't for his Sharingan, while Neji continued to launch a flurry of palm strikes, some of which were blocked or dodged, while others found its mark. Damn it, so this is what he meant with my Sharingan won't be able to keep it up. Sasuke thought, as he tried as best as he could to dodge the wave of soft but painful strikes. I need to put up some distance. Sasuke made a hand seal, and body flickered a few meters back. However, in less than a second, he saw a green flash, and Neji was in front of him already, continuing his onslaught. What do you think of my speed? And that's just with one gate opened, Neji boasted as he re-engaged Sasuke. I admit is impressive, Sasuke conceded, as he started to make hand seals with one hand while using the other to defend. But let's see how your gentle fist does against an opponent you can't touch. Fire release, Burning Man. Sasuke burst into flames, before they stabilized, forming a fiery cloak around the Uchiha. Naturally, Neji stopped attacking, and his confident expression morphed into a thoughtful one, as his brain tried to come up with a way to harm his opponent. It was Sasuke's turn to sport a confident and even smug grin. I can't believe I didn't do this earlier, Sasuke admitted. Guess my pride didn't allow me to use my best moves from the very beginning. While withholding your true power is a valid tactic sometimes, doing so due to a sense of pride is something I'd call beyond stupid, Neji replied, prompting Sasuke back into his usual frowning expression. You didn't show me your true power from the start as well, Sasuke retorted. Because I wanted to assess my opponent's abilities and capabilities first. And now, I have an approximate measure of what I'm going against, Neji explained. Measure this then. Sasuke replied as he shot forward towards Neji, leaving a trail of fire behind. Using his enhanced speed, Neji dodged Sasuke's charge, and moved to the side. However, the cloak of fire somehow increased Sasuke's speed as well, and the Uchiha was now able to match the Hyuga in that department. They spent a few seconds engaged in a game of cat and mouse, with Sasuke chasing and attacking Neji, and the latter evading and dodging him. That's it, until the Hyuga managed to find a window of opportunity long enough to prepare his next move. He slipped once again into the stance used for the 8 trigrams combo. Let's see how well you do against this, Neji announced, as he prepared to attack. 8 trigrams, 16 exploding strikes. While some people in Sasuke's situation would have believed that there's no way taijutsu, even the gentle fist, could bypass a shield of fire, most people didn't have a Sharingan. Thanks to his ocular power, the Uchiha could see, much to his worry, that Niji was gathering an inordinate amount of chakra into his hands. This is bad, Sasuke thought as he moved to dodge the strike. 2 strikes. Niji delivered 2 PAL hits that, as the name implied, created 2 small chakra concussive blasts upon hitting the target, effectively bypassing Sasuke's fire cloak, but leaving Niji unharmed. 4 strikes, 2 more strikes were delivered, to the same effect. 8 strikes. His palm strikes aren't closing my chakra points, but those blasts are making a number on my body, Sasuke noted, trying to contain the pain caused by the hits. Shadow Clone Jutsu. A clone of Sasuke appeared before the original. 16 strikes. Niji finished the short but devastating combo, though it was wasted on the clone Sasuke summoned in the nick of time. Sasuke put some distance, panting heavily. He wasn't expecting that Niji would aside the subtle damage usually caused by the gentle fist and replace it with brutish explosions. Then again, that was probably the idea. Pity I was unable to finish the combo properly, Niji lamented, shaking his head in disappointment. Then again, you're not Naruto. Using shadow clones so lightly will hinder you in the long term. Your chakra levels decreased substantially. That might be true, but never underestimate me. I still have plenty of chakra to spare, Sasuke replied. After what happened the last time, I would never even dream about underestimating you, Niji sincerely admitted. In fact, I think it's about time to step up my game even further. Gate of Healing, open. Meanwhile, to the onlookers, the match had become even more interesting now. How many gates can Niji open? Naruto asked. Niji can open up to 3 gates right now, just like myself, Tenten replied. We're working on the 4th one, but so far we've been unable to handle the strain caused by the withdrawal backlash. Don't worry, Tenten, just keep training. That's how both Gai-sensei and I managed to surpass our limits. Lee chimed in, with his usual optimist demeanor. Some limits can't be overcome by mere training, Lee, Tenten replied. Nonsense. That's just unyouthful talk from a quitter, an indignant Lee replied. So are you telling me that, if you train a lot, you'd be able to use ninjutsu? Tenten sharply asked. This managed to shut Lee into a stunned silence, as he wordlessly accepted Tenten's previous statement. Thought so. Meanwhile, Hinata was watching the fight with her Byakugan activated, in order to get a better assessment of the situation. Niji Nizen was right, Sasuke-san wasted a lot of chakra using shadow clones so carelessly, Hinata confirmed. But the gates is consuming Nizen's chakra at a fast rate. The match won't last much longer. My money's on Sasuke. We've fought quite a lot of times this past year, and he got really strong, Naruto stated. And you just saw Niji Nizen also spent a lot of time growing stronger, Hinata replied, almost with a hint of animosity. Back to the match, Niji and Sasuke continued trading blows, producing a strong gust of wind every time they clashed. Niji's blows created shockwaves upon impacting, while Sasuke's fire aura shot fireballs with every move the Uchiha made. However, he deactivated it after a few moments in order to save chakra. Smart move, Niji told Sasuke. I'm not the only one whose chakra is quickly burning, Sasuke said as he stabbed his katana into the ground and made several hand seals, this time with both hands, before grabbing his katana and unsheathing his shoto once again. Fire release, burning edge. Lightning release, thunder blade. Once again, Sasuke's katana was wreathed in flames, while his shoto started to crackle with electricity. Lastly, he crossed both blades, casting a beam of fire surrounded by electricity from the intersection point at Niji. Double elemental release, plasma beam. Niji turned into a green blur as he outrun the destructive beam aimed at him. Sasuke moved his crossed weapons in his efforts to hit Niji, leaving a trail of burned earth behind. In no time, Niji managed to reach mid-distance, and prepared for his next attack. 8 trigrams, invisible palm. Niji started to thrust both palms back and forth, generating spectral arms made of chakra that flew at Sasuke. The Uchiha parried all the hits with his elemental-enhanced weapons, but the strikes packed so much power they pushed the Uchiha back with each blow. Niji finished the combo with a double palm strike that blew Sasuke's weapons out of his hands and pushed him so hard, he fell on his back. "This is over," Niji proclaimed as he prepared for the finishing move. Sasuke saw Niji gathering chakra on the tip of his fingers, and knew whatever he was preparing, it couldn't be good. Thankfully, he rolled on his back in time to avoid the strike, which created a small crater on the ground, got on his feet, and managed to retrieve his Shoto. "Don't underestimate me," Sasuke indignantly shouted. "This is over," Niji insisted. Gate of Life open. Another burst of chakra, this one even more intense than the previous two, shook the battleground. Niji's green aura became more intense, as his pale skin started to take a reddish tint. A powerful wind started to blow. Sasuke made a hand seal. Shadow Clone Jutsu. A single clone appeared beside Sasuke, and both he and his clone continued making hand seals, a different sequence each. Fire Release, Great Fireball Jutsu. The clone blew a massive fireball at Niji, as the real Sasuke prepared his next attack. Lightning Release, Thunderbolt. Sasuke released an array of lightning bolts at his fireball, coating it with electricity. Niji, however, didn't look impressed. "I've been looking for an opportunity to use this," the Hyuga prodigy stated, as he started to spin. Heavenly Spinning Lotus. Niji turned into a green spinning chakra dome that successfully deflected Sasuke's bi-elemental attack. The Uchiha, however, wasn't impressed. "So, a beefed-up heavenly spin. It won't help you any what?" he asked in shock. Much to his surprise, Niji started to move rather fast while still spinning. "The hell? How can he move?" Sasuke asked, visibly taken aback. The Uchiha tossed a few shuriken at Niji, but as expected, they failed to slow him down. Sasuke leaped above the spinning Hyuga and landed beside him, but Niji merely moved in the opposite direction. Sasuke sheathed his Shoto before retrieving his katana from the ground. "Thanks to the additional power provided by the gates, I can now use some chakra to propel myself while I'm still spinning," Niji thought. The Hyuga's ultimate defense can now be used as a weapon to attack. Sasuke's hands flew through hand seals as he prepared his last attack. "Let's hope this can be enough to counter that technique," he worriedly thought. Sasuke gripped his sword with both hands, and the blade was quickly covered in both fire and electricity, before dashing at Niji. Double Elemental Release, Plasma Blade. Sasuke's elemental sword struck Niji's spinning chakra dome. The two forces clashing resulted in a powerful wind blowing outwards as flames, lightning sparks and chakra bursts flew everywhere. Both forces struggled against each other, neither of them bulging one bit. And finally, like it happened all the time Sasuke used that jutsu, when the energy gathered reached a critical point, it was released at once in the form of a large explosion, which hurled both combatants up in the air, before they both landed in the floor with a loud thud. Shizune and Guy quickly went to check their respective students. They both were bruised and badly beaten, but they didn't have any serious injury. They would be fine after being healing. The onlookers started to murmur among themselves, until somebody, namely Lee, voiced what most of them were thinking. "Soho wins?" the green-clad ninja asked. "Since both Niji and Sasuke are unable to continue fighting on their own, then it's a tie," Guy declared. "But even if none of you won, it was a fight to remember. You showed everybody the height of your passion and your flames of youth. Karen, go and heal Niji-kun. Sakura, help me treat Sasuke-kun," Shizune instructed. "Right." Karen obediently said as she rushed towards her boyfriend, kneeling before his fallen body, and started to heal his injuries, not with her innate ability, but with the mystical palm jutsu. It seemed that, despite the intensity of the match, Sasuke made sure not to make any irreparable damage. Niji himself didn't deal any crippling blow to Sasuke either. Guy was a bit worried that, even after all this time, the Hyuga prodigy would be hungry for payback. So how was I? Niji asked Karen. You were impressive, honey, Karen earnestly told him as she treated his wounds. I wish you could have seen yourself. I couldn't be that impressive, given that I still lost, Niji bemoaned. You didn't lose, it was a tie, Karen pointed out. I didn't win, hence I lost, Niji insisted. Sasuke didn't win either, Karen countered, sounding a bit annoyed now. Well, in that case AW. Niji yelped after Karen pressed one of his wounds. You didn't lose, end of discussion. Karen sternly stated. Now shut up while I heal you. Niji let out a sigh, but smiled as well. Of course, Karen. Meanwhile, Sakura and Shizune were having a similar conversation with Sasuke. You did great, Sasuke-kun. Truly an amazing display, Sakura sincerely praised. I didn't so great if I was unable to win, Sasuke replied. You were holding back, Sakura justified. While I was withholding my most powerful moves, I was still giving it my all, Sasuke insisted. You simply weren't fighting with the intent to kill, despite the magnitude of your attacks. You kept the fight to a level your opponent was able to follow, which is what we should do when sparring, Shizune interceded. Hence, you should feel proud of your fight. Just as I am. Like Niji before, Sasuke decided not to press the issue. So far, no Uchiha had ever won an argument against Shizune, and he didn't have any hopes of being the first one. Realizing that there was nothing else to see, most of the onlookers, with the exception of Sasuke and Niji's respective teammates and sensei, quickly dispersed and went their separate ways to do their daily tasks and jobs. It would be lunchtime soon, and thus, Naruto and Hinata were heading towards the latter's house. They had some free time during the afternoon, and Hinata wanted to spend it training alongside Hanabi, and asked Naruto if he wanted to tag along, and naturally, he agreed. She also asked him to have lunch with her family. Hanabi's finally starting to get the hang of elemental manipulation, Hinata commented. In less time than I did, might I add. Not that surprising, since she has far more talent than I. Come on, don't sell yourself short. You also had the inventiveness of combining the gentle fist with lightning release, Naruto reminded her. If it wasn't for you, Niji wouldn't have had the idea of combining it with the celestial gates. But I did it because of my inability to master the proper gentle fist, Hinata replied. So? That just meant that your talents laid elsewhere. You turned a weakness into a strength, Naruto insisted. Hinata couldn't help but giggle. She loved when Naruto praised her like that, even if she felt sometimes it was undeserved. Speaking of which, Hinata, I know you want to focus on Hanabi, but I'd also like to continue with my training on lightning release, Naruto told her. I don't know why you're so insistent about it. You already have mastered wind and water. Isn't that enough for a Jonin promotion? Hinata asked. During the past year, Naruto asked Haku to teach him how to use water release jutsu, given that wind's weakness was fire. After he mastered water release to an acceptable level, he then went to Hinata with the same request. And while Hinata was happy to oblige, she always thought such thing wasn't necessary. For a promotion, yes, but for me? Not in the slightest, Naruto sharply replied. The old man mastered all 5 elements, and I'm not going to be any less. But don't think I'm doing this out of pride, having all 5 elements at my disposal will make me a force to be reckoned with. With that sage mode of yours, I think you already qualify as that, Hinata pointed out, giggling a bit. What about you, Hinata? You're pretty good with lightning already. Don't you plan on learning a second element? Naruto asked. Hinata put her finger on her lips, as she started to think. I didn't think about that until you mentioned that. So far, I've been good with what I already have. Remember that if you want that Jonin promotion, you'll need 2 elements, Naruto reminded her. He left the part about having an outstanding mastery of another discipline unsaid, since he felt it wouldn't be nice to point out his girlfriend's shortcomings. Well, first I want to focus on being promoted to special jonin. I mean, we're still young, there's no hurry, right? Hinata asked him. Kakashi-sensei was a jonin when he was 12, Naruto stated. Naruto-kun, this isn't a competition. While your desire to surpass yourself is admirable, you shouldn't be concerned about what Kakashi-sensei or other people did. Other people's accomplishments don't diminish your own, Hinata sagely said. Guess so. Still, can't help to feel like that, Naruto replied. By the way, you didn't answer my question. I believe I can afford learning a second element now. Besides, with how much I've been helping Hanabi-chan with her training in fire release, I believe I have a good base to start with that, Hinata stated. Besides, fire is wind's weakness, which is lightning's weakness, Naruto pointed out. Memorial Stone, you know Kakashi, after all what happened, I thought I'd stop seeing you here. Kakashi turned around, and saw his friend and rival Guy, standing there with his arms crossed, shooting him a mildly disapproving stare. I know it makes no sense, but what can I say, some habits are hard to break, the silver-haired jonin replied. I can't believe that the two of them are still alive. Yes. People don't come back from the dead like that. Even the impure world resurrection doesn't work that way, Guy continued. While what happened to Obito is indeed tragic, I'd expect you to be a bit happier to have Rin back. I am happy, Kakashi pointed out. Skeptical, Guy raised an eyebrow. You don't look all that happier to me. You know, Guy, people have different ways of expressing happiness. Not all of us go around screaming about youth at the top of our lungs, Kakashi softly but mockingly said. Whoa. Don't say anything you might regret. You may be my rival, but there are lines that are never meant to be crossed. Guy angrily shouted, pointing an accusatory finger at the copy ninja. Kakashi merely chuckled. I think you should spend some time with Rin. She needs you more than ever. I know. I do spend time with her whenever I can. We all do, Kakashi replied. Kurenai took her to eat out today, Kakashi told him. How is she doing? Guy asked. Good, I think, but I couldn't really tell, Kakashi replied, sighing. She looks like she's getting used to her new life and how everything changed since the day she died. But there's something that disturbs her, I know that. But when I ask her, she tells me everything's fine. Rin is a very selfless girl, she probably doesn't want to worry you, or anybody, Guy concluded. Then again, it's obvious that what bothers her is Obito. It's what bothers you as well these days, am I right? Guess that there's no point in denying it, Kakashi conceded, and sighed. I just can't imagine what did he go through in order to end up part of Akatsuki. And not just that, but the fact that he was behind so many tragedies, starting with the Nine Tails attack. You know what this means, Kakashi? Guy asked, now in his usual boisterous tone. We need to train even more now. No doubt we will meet Obito again in combat, and when that day comes, we need to be ready in order to protect our village, and make sure to knock some sense into that empty head of his. Meanwhile, in Konoha's downtown, just as Kakashi said, Kurenai and Rin were having lunch together. Even if Rin didn't really need to eat, she liked to do so, since it made her feel more human and less whatever she was now. So far, they two of them had remained silent, but the red-eyed jonin decided to break the ice. So, how was your day at work? Kurenai asked. Good, I guess. Nothing worth mentioning happened. And quite frankly, I'm starting to enjoy the monotony, Rin admitted, as she took a bite of the hake she was eating. It's relaxing, and leaves me time to think. So you're not planning to return to active duty anytime soon, Kurenai concluded. I don't think I'm ready yet, Rin replied. Kurenai smiled emphatically. It's okay, just take all the time you need. All of us will be here to support you. Rin smiled back at her. Thanks. I don't think I could have done this alone. You came back from the death, girl. I'm sure there's little to nothing impossible to you now, Kurenai said. That made Rin chuckle. If only that were true. You know, you became quite the motivational. What do you mean, I became? Kurenai asked, mildly indignant. I have always been like this. But I admit that being a Jonin sensei allowed me to hone my skills in that area. You know, I always wanted to become a Jonin sensei. I think I'd make a good teacher. Minato sensei was a very good reference, Rin mentioned. And you got to teach his son. Naruto's a hard worker, and quite eager to learn. The dream of any teacher. But he sometimes can exhaust me, Kurenai said, chuckling lightly. Not to say my other two pupils aren't great either. I always wanted to meet Naruto. But whenever I plan to do so I don't know what I can tell him, Rin confessed. I can introduce you to him if you want. To my whole team, really. I'm sure you'll like all of them, Kurenai suggested. I think I already met one of them, if briefly. The girly-looking boy with the ice release. Haku was it, right? Rin asked. Kurenai nodded affirmatively. He seemed nice. He is. Like you, he also went through a lot. In fact, all of them had their own share of past tragedies, yet they didn't let them to define who they are, Kurenai replied. So, how about if you come with us the next time we have a training session? I'm sure it'd be good for you. You should make a few friends your age. That last comment made Rin to lower her head in sadness, and Kurenai realized too late what she just said. Her hands flew to her mouth. Oh, sorry. I didn't mean to dash. No, it's okay. It has to be just as weird for the both of us, you and the others being adults, and me still being a teenager, Rin replied. At least, you won't stay like that forever. I notice you're getting taller, Kurenai pointed out. Obito said that he did something similar to whatever they did to him in order to save his life. I was expecting to grow up into an adult, given that he did. But truth be told, I was a bit scared to be stuck like this forever, Rin told her. Look at the bright side. Eternal youth. Kurenai pointed out. Rin chuckled, and rolled her eyes. Eternal life isn't all that great if you can't enjoy it to its fullest. For example, you wouldn't be able to drink. That comment made the Genjutsu mistress to rethink what she said. While she wasn't a drunk, she did enjoy alcohol regularly, and she wouldn't be so eager to give up such a pleasure. And I wouldn't be able to marry and start a family. Speaking of which, when do you plan to marry Asuma? Rin cheekily asked. Kurenai was a bit taken aback by the question. But then again, he had to admit that she and Asuma weren't exactly subtle. There's still time for that, Kurenai hand waved. What about you? Did you meet any boy worth pursuing? I don't think I'm ready for a relationship just now, Rin admitted. But I think you're right in that I should try to get to know some people my age. Good. My students would love to meet you. Senju residents that afternoon, Hagane and Kaida were in the house's backyard, entertaining a small, few months old baby boy with both black hair and black eyes. They were using small-scale ninjutsu to create spectacular visuals that the baby would enjoy. The baby would giggle and clap whenever he saw something he liked, which was often. The house's back door opened from the inside, revealing a smiling Shizun. The baby smiled and tried to stand up upon seeing the medic Nin. Ah, there you are. Shizun happily cooed as she held the baby in her arms. Did you miss mommy, Shiro-kun? Because mommy misses you a lot when she's at work. 6 months after her wedding, Shizun gave birth to a baby boy, which they named Shiro. This caused a lot of people to groan and roll their eyes, but neither Shizun nor Shursui paid them any attention. So, did he give you much trouble? Shizun asked. Both twins shook her head in unison. Not at all. Thankfully he didn't cry today, Hagane mentioned. Because he's a good boy, isn't he? Shizun cooed again, making Shiro giggle. Anyway, now that I'm done for the day, I can take him out of your hands. Will you bring him tomorrow? Kaida asked, almost pleading. Probably, yeah, Shizun replied. I didn't see Tsunade-sama, is she still at work? Nope, she is home. I think she's upstairs taking a nap. Let me check. Kaida took a deep breath. Moom. A second later, a window in the second floor opened, revealing a very angry Tsunade. God damn it, Kaida, what the hell did I say about yelling like that? Tsunade angrily shouted back. Then she noticed Shizun and Shiro, and her murderous expression changed into a happy one. Oh, Shizun, didn't see you. And you brought Shiro-kun. Wait a second. Not wanting to waste a moment, Tsunade jumped out of the window, shattering the earth upon landing, leaving a small crater with spreading cracks. Kaida, honey, fix that, please, Tsunade told her. Kaida groaned and rolled her eyes, but complied. Making a few hand seals, she used her powers to repair the damage to the grass and the ground. I'm the closest thing Konoha has to a princess, yet I always find myself doing gardening jobs, the white-haired girl angrily groaned. Tsunade ignored her daughter's complaints and took Shiro from Shizun's arms. Shiro giggled as he started to pull Tsunade's bangs. Ow! Tsunade cried. Come on Shiro-kun, don't do that to grandma, Shizun said, grabbing the baby's hand. Tsunade's eyes narrowed, as she shot her former apprentice a murderous look. Shizun, what did we say about the G-word? Ah, it isn't cute, Shiro-kun. Grandma hates being reminded she's not young anymore, Shizun cooed in an incredibly mocking way. Tsunade rolled her eyes, but she didn't do anything else. Of course, Shizun was more than aware that, if any other person sassed Tsunade the way she did, the slug princess would shatter every bone in their bodies without mercy. Even then, Shizun still knew not to push her luck. Any progress on the investigation regarding the cursed seal? Shizun asked. Tsunade shook her head. Some, but not as much as we would want. There are elements in the seal we are unaware of its nature, though one of my researchers think there's a key component based on an unknown bloodline limit. And the investigation regarding Orochimaru's possible hideouts? Shizun asked again. We did locate some of them, but they were mere laboratories and glorified storage warehouses, nothing big so far, Tsunade replied. Orochimaru uses a ninja village to gather funds, we should be able to track that, Shizun pointed out. Once again, Tsunade shook her head. Jiraya and I thought the same, but Orochimaru already thought of that. Rather than having the customers come to his village, if it ever exists, he sends his ninjas to offer their service to potential customers. And those ninjas more often than not never come from the same place. Basically, just like how his Akatsuki friends operate. Drats. At this pace, we will never find again until he decides to stop hiding. And by the time he does that, he might have a whole slew of nasty surprises prepared for us, Shizun lamented. Tsunade sighed. If he succeeded in kidnapping my children, we may have never seen them again. We were lucky Naruto and his friends tracked them in time. I prefer not to think what would have happened, Shizun then looked at the blissfully unaware Shiro in Tsunade's arms. Shursui and I are constantly afraid that somebody might want to target our son as well, given he's the first Uchiha born after the insurrection. You know what happens to people who target out family. I'm sure Obito will never forget the beating she got from us that night, Tsunade stated. Hokage's office, well, this is the last meeting of the day, Jiraiya told his predecessor-turned-advisor. I can't wait to get back home with my wife and kids. A feeling I'm familiar with, much to my distaste, Hiruzen agreed. Then again, today hasn't been a particularly busy day. If only all days could been like this one, Jiraiya mentioned. The office's door opened, revealing Shursui Uchiha. He was holding a folder in one of his hands. Hokage-sama. Sarutobi-sama, the black-haired man respectfully greeted. "Look at that, my son-in-law," Jiraya heartily said. "So, what bring you here, Shursui?" "I've been working on a project for this past year, and I believe it's ready to be implemented." Said project would benefit Konoha immensely, Shursui explained as he handed the folder to Jiraya. "Let's see it then," the Toad Sage replied, as he opened the folder and took a look at its contents, an action Hiruzen mimicked. However, as they read Shursui's proposal, their cheerful and relaxed expressions morphed into tense and disapproving ones, much to the Uchiha's discomfort. "So you want Torviv the military police?" Jiraya asked, shooting an skeptical look at the young man. "I know the implications, but listen to me on this one. There are a lot of ninja, mostly people with families and small kids to take care such as myself that would love to have a job that doesn't require them to leave the village for long periods of time. Not to mention that it would release most chunin from doing the job the police used to do in the past," Shursui explained. "I understand your concerns, Shursui, but even with the benefits you exposed, the matter is far more complex than it appears," Jiraiya replied. The military police was strongly associated with the Uchiha, to the point that it incorporated the clan's crest into its logo. "Many people may see this as a ruse for your clan to recover their lost power and influence," Sarutobi explained, trying to sound as reassuring as he could. "I know about that, but here's the thing, everybody will be able to join the police, not just the Uchiha." Which was kind of a given, since even if we count Shizen-chan as an Uchiha, there's only 4 of us to man it, Shursui added with an awkward laugh. "You raise good points. And I do agree that Konoha would become more efficient with the police back," Jiraiya agreed, much to Shursui's joy. "The hard part is how we're going to implement it without reopening the old wounds of the Uchiha insurrection." "I think I may have an idea," Sarutobi interceded. "We can do a survey, asking both the ninja civilian population about it, but trying to push into the forefront the benefits of having the police back in force in order to gain support." "Good idea. However, in order to placate those who distrusts the Uchiha, I think it should be run by somebody other than you or your clansmen." "I mean, you plan to become its new chief, am I right?" Jiraiya asked. Shursui nodded. "Indeed, but trust me, I don't mind giving up that if the police can be reinstated." "Very well then, tomorrow I'll get the survey started." "I'm sure we can make this project into reality," Jiraiya stated as he closed the folder, and handed it to Hiruzen, who placed it inside one of the shelves. "Thank you, Hokage-sama. You won't regret this," an enthusiastic Shursui stated. "I'm sure I won't. Now everybody, let's get the hell out of here. It's closing time," Jiraiya eagerly said as he got up from his chair. Next morning appeared to be just another uneventful day like those in the past few months. The night shift guards on the north gate were finally able to leave their posts as their replacements for the morning shift, Shikamaru, Ino and Choji, appeared to take their place. "Boy, I hate gate duty," Ino said with a yawn. "It's even worse than the worst of Asuma-sensei's training." It's not so bad," Shikamaru replied. "I mean, after all the deadly missions we got as genin, I learned to appreciate the joys of a monotonous chore." "Of course you'd say that. I can't believe you find checking passports and interrogating merchants who come into the village enjoyable," Ino said as she rolled her eyes. Choji, who had been silently eating from a bag of chips, spoke for the first time. "Somebody is coming, this soon." "We barely opened the gates," Ino groaned. Shikamaru narrowed his eyes as he focused his eyesight on the newcomers. It was a rather large group, much larger than usual, composed of a dozen people at least. Upon getting closer, they noticed they were ninja. "They're ninja," Shikamaru warned his friends. "Mist ninja, if their forehead protectors are any indicators." Worry spread among the trio, as they thought what they should do. Having a group of ninja from a non-allied village were never good news. "Should we warn anybody?" Choji asked. "Let's wait a bit. If they were enemies, they wouldn't be walking towards the gate like that," Shikamaru replied. Maybe they're a distraction, Ino conjectured. I'll deal with this, you two stay behind. In case it's a ruse, run back into the village and alert everybody, Shikamaru instructed. Ino and Choji nodded. Minutes turned into hours as the group of Kiri ninja got closer. Shikamaru now could see that it was being led by a very tall and attractive red-headed woman. Upon getting closer, the woman noticed the Nara, and shot him a smile that could melt any man, regardless of his sexual orientation. Halt, Shikamaru told the group, trying to sound commanding, who promptly stopped in front of him. State your name and purpose. Of course, handsome, the red-headed woman said with a tender smile, making Shikamaru blush. My name is Mei Terumi, leader of the Kirigakure Liberation Movement. As for why I'm here, I wish to have an audience with your Hokage, if it's not asking much. When they traveled together, Zabuza had Haku woke up before sunrise so the two of them could have a good training session before they moved on to other matters. Such habit didn't change since they were forced to live in Konoha. They were practicing some water jutsu at the edge of a lake before the Jonin decided to stop and rest for some time. Zabuza also decided to ask his protege a few questions. You've been Chunin for quite some time now. How do you find the higher rank missions you're getting? Zabuza asked. Haku simply shrugged. Not that difficult from the missions I did as a genin, truth be told. Many missions ended up being way more dangerous than we believed. But in the end, I think it was for the better. I wouldn't be as strong as I am now if it wasn't for that. Indeed. You survived, and that meant that you were strong enough to deserve to continue living, Zabuza stated. All you need is a little more experience before you can be of real help in my endeavor. How long until we can leave Konoha? Haku asked. Given how long I've been here, I'd say it can't be longer than a couple years, Zabuza wondered, as he thought about it. My track record is pretty much flawless. So flawless that I think Jiraya doesn't want to let me go. But so far, he has proven to be a man of his word, and I trust he'll honor his end of our bargain. If Naruto-kun is anything to go by, I can say that the Hokage is the same as him, Haku agreed. There was something about Haku, however, that didn't go unnoticed by Zabuza. You surprise me, Haku. I wasn't expecting you to be so eager to leave Konoha. You have friends and even a girlfriend here. Would you ditch them for me? The swordsman skeptically asked. You know my answer. My loyalty will always lay with you, Zabuza-sama. If you didn't take me in, I would be dead right now. I have a debt I will never be able to repay, Haku replied. While such a statement would make Zabuza feel proud and satisfied in the past, it made him feel rather conflicted. On one side, he didn't want to lose Haku, since he was a useful asset. On the other hand, he did care for the boy, regardless how much he wanted to deny it, and the idea of forcing Haku to abandon the life he had built here made him feel uneasy. However, before the former Kiri ninja had more time to ponder on his conflicted feelings, a lizard-masked Anbu appeared behind them. Zabuza, Haku. Your immediate presence is required by the Hokage. He's waiting for you in the Hokage Tower's council room, the Anbu stated in a cold and neutral tone before vanishing. Alright then, let's see why he wants to see us, Zabuza said as he and Haku headed back to the village. Upon arriving to the Hokage Tower, the two Land of Water natives were greeted by an unsettling sight. Several Kiri ninja were in front of the tower, being watched over by several Konoha ninja. Needless to say, this didn't bode well for the duo. Zabuza-sama, I have a bad feeling about this, Haku whispered to his master. What should we do? For the time being, let's play nice, and do what we're told to do. I don't think Jiraiya plans to hand us to Yagura like that, Zabuza reassured him. And if you're wrong? Then prepare to fight like you never did, Zabuza grimly replied. While they were restless on the inside, Zabuza and Haku entered the tower as if nothing weird happened. They reached the council room, where two Anbu stood guard, and opened the doors for them. What awaited for them there was certainly surprising. Well, Here they are, Jiraya stated, pleased, as he saw the duo enter the room. Now that we're all here, we can finally begin. The council room was a large room where most meetings were held. There was a long and large table in the middle, surrounded by several cushy chairs and cushions, with several drawers full of scrolls and thick folders resting against the walls. Jiraya, Tsunade, and their sensei and former Hokage, Herzuan Sarutobi, were the only Konoha ninja present. There were other 3 ninja, 2 women and a boy, sitting around the table. The youngest 2 were a nervous-looking young man with light blue hair who wore glasses, and an angry-looking short girl with dark red hair. Zabuza didn't know who those 2 were, but the fact that they were carrying 2 of the 7 swords didn't go unnoticed. He did recognize the third one, a woman in her late 20s with long, spiky dark red hair with a bang covering half her face, given that she was almost like a celebrity in Kirigakure. Mei Terumi, Zabuza darkly stated. I must admit seeing you here is a surprise. Am I a good surprise, or a bad one? Mei asked in her trademark sultry voice. That would depend on your reason to be here, Zabuza replied, before staring at Jiraya. Hokage-sama, I think I deserve an explanation for this. And you'll have it, Zabuza. But first, take a seat and let's hear what Miss Terumi has to say, Jiraya replied. Begrudgingly, Zabuza did as he was told, with Haku doing the same. And given that you 2 know each other, we can skip the introductions. Now, let's begin, Jiraya said. Mei cleared her throat before beginning. Like all of you probably know, Kirigakure has been involved in a civil war these past few years. The war was a result of our village's increasingly bloodthirsty customs, which reached such point that civilians grew to hate us ninja as if we were demons. After our original leader died, I took the duty to continue the fight, Mei recounted. And let me guess, Zabuza interrupted. You want me to help you with your rebellion? Yes, that's why I came here, Mei confirmed. I'm aware of your current predicament, and want to negotiate with Hokage Dano the terms so you can be released from your probation and go back with us to liberate our home. You can't do that, an outraged Zabuza shouted at Jiraya. I might have a debt with Konoha, but you can't sell me as if I was a slave. Nobody's a slave here, Zabuza, Mei told him in a reassuring tone. You'd work for me as any other ninja of Kirigakure. I don't plan to put you in chains and whip your back. Unless you're into that kind of stuff, she added with a giggle. Zabuza didn't find that funny. What if I refuse? Zabuza tentatively asked. Mei looked slightly surprised, but overall unimpressed. Well, I don't know why you should. We have common goals, wouldn't be for the best if we joined forces? You started a coup against Yagura years ago, the same coup that inspired this rebellion. However, we managed to amass way more resources than you did. Now you have a chance to finish what you started all those years ago. And once Yagura is deposed, who'll take his place? You? Zabuza asked. Mei looked as if the swordsman asked something glaringly obvious. Well, yes. I'm leading the rebellion, and so far all my followers support me as the next Mizukage. That's where the problem lies. I threw that coup so I could be the next Mizukage, not somebody else. I fight to see my ambitions become a reality, not yours. Zabuza angrily shouted. It isn't tradition for the strongest ninja to be the leader of a village? Mei asked in a faux innocent tone. Zabuza's eye twitched upon catching the implication of that question. Are you implying that you're stronger than me? Zabuza asked in a threatening tone. Once again, Mei looked as if he said something obvious. Well, yes. I mean, I know the extent of your capabilities, and they're impressive. Mei shoot him a condescending smile. But compared to me, you don't even reach the sole of my boots. Zabuza slammed his fist on the table. Enough. I won't allow you to keep me insulting like that. You think that having 2 bloodline limits already makes you that strong? You have no idea of what true strength means. Is that a challenge? Mei asked, raising her visible eyebrow. You want to fight me? You can bet it is, Zabuza seethed. Okay then, let's make this more interesting. If you manage to defeat me, once I negotiate the terms of your release, I'll step down and appoint you the leader of the rebellion. All my resources and assets will be yours. But if I win, you'll join my forces and fight for me against Yagura and his minions. Deal? Mei asked, showing a conciliating smile. You have no idea what you got yourself into, miss, Zabuza said as he stood up. Whoa there, calm down everybody. Jiraya asked, raising his voice. Miss Terumi, you said the matter at hand was urgent. Can't this wait? Don't worry, Hokage Dano. It won't take more than 10 minutes, Mei replied as she stood up. Let them fight, Tsunade told Jiraya, repressing a small giggle. Seeing them argue and bicker is way funnier than any of the soap operas I watch. Zabuza-sama, is this really necessary? Haku asked as he followed his master outside. Yes. We have to make clear who's in command here, Zabuza stated. Outside the tower, 5 minutes later Zabuza laid in the ground, trembling. His trusty executioner's blade was stabbed into the ground a few meters from him. His clothes were charred and had several burns across his body. Mei, on the other hand, didn't look any worse for the wear. To make her obvious victory even more evident, she planted a foot on Zabuza's chest. Well, that was a fun spar, Zabuza-chan, but now we have a village to liberate, Mei then looked at the staring Jiraya. Once somebody heals Zabuza-chan, we can continue the meeting. Zabuza-sama, Haku called. Now that it's clear who's in command here, what do we do? 10 minutes later, after Tsunade healed Zabuza and the swordsman was given new clothes to wear after the ones he was wearing were damaged, the Konoha and Kiri parties resumed their meeting inside the tower. And after a few minutes of bargaining, Zabuza's probation was finally over and he was free to leave Konoha if he chose to. Is Zabuza that important to you? I admit that he's a good ninja, but I doubt that a single man will be able to give you such an edge over your enemies, Jiraya questioned. Given how much you're willing to pay to have him back. Is not about him, but what he represents, Mei replied. The 7 swordsmen are the pride and joy of the Hidden Mist, and keeping their loyalty is a must for any Mizukage. Of the current wielders of the 7 swords, 3 of them still serve Yagura, while other 2 are loyal to the rebellion. Of the 2 remaining, Kisame Hoshigaki joined the mercenary group Akatsuki, while Zabuza became an independent mercenary. At least, until a few years ago. After taking part in the Uchiha insurrection, he vanished. Rumors said that he was now working for Konoha, but they were just that, rumors. And you decided to check if those rumors were true? Hiruzen inquired. Oh, no. If I came here with such unreliable information, you could have claimed that Zabuza wasn't here. I came here once I had irrefutable evidence about Zabuza's change of allegiances, Mei replied. And that would be? Zabuza asked. It's a long and really funny story, but I guess I can tell, Mei replied, as she began. You see, our main tactic to win this war is to target the ships that supply Kirigakure and steal them for us. Tracking the ships, however, was the hardest part, since they're manned by the best sailors money can buy, and often change their sea routes in order to avoid us. About a year ago, this changed. The ships weren't so careful, and we were able to plunder plenty of them. Not just that, but we also found out the business who owned those ships, the Gato Corporation. All of them were aware of who Gato was and how he met his end. That was a very good lead that would take her to Zabuza. We decided to track and kill Gato in order to disable Yagura's main supply lines. My spies eventually tracked him in the small island nation of the Land of the Waves. But when we got there, it turns out that somebody beat us to the punch. Gato was already dead, and the company's board members have been trying to cover his demise, while they all fought to become the next CEO, which explained the company's poor state. The locals told my ninja everything. Turns out, Gato wanted to take over the small country, and to do so bought all the ports and harbors. However, a man named Tsunade challenged Gato and started building a bridge to connect the island nation with the continent. Of course, Gato wasn't going to have any of that, and sent a squad of assassins to kill him. Tsunade managed to avoid them and escape to the continent. A month later, he returned with a Konoha ninja escort, who by all means fit Zabuza's description, who kept Gato's assassins at bay while the bridge was being built. When the bridge was close to being finished, Gato himself showed up, leading an army of thugs, in order to kill Tsunade and his ninja. None of them got out of there alive. The bridge was complete, and his job done, the ninja left. Mei smiled widely as she leaned back on her chair as she put both hands behind her head. This was going to be really good. My spies decided to follow this lead and go to Konoha. So imagine their surprise when they were about to cross the bridge, and saw the Great Zabuza Bridge written in big, capital letters on it. Zabuza's eyes opened so wide, they looked they would pop out of their sockets. What? You made such an impression there, that the villagers decided to name a bridge after you. So cute, Mei cooed. I'm going to kill that old man and his whole family. Zabuza growled as his hands violently strangled an imaginary victim. Save all that killing intent for when we go back to fight Yagura's ninja, Mei calmly told him, as she stood up from her chair. When the news of Zabuza joining my rank spreads, not only it will provide a morale boost for my troops, but it will encourage others to join us as well. With 3 swordsmen supporting the rebellion, people will see we have more chances at winning this than what they initially thought. But let's not dwell in the past anymore. As the most experienced member of my swordsmen, you shall be their captain. Now I believe you should meet your Kohai. Mei made a hand motion, and the 2 young swordsmen walked towards Zabuza. The bespectacled boy introduced himself first. It's an honor to finally meet you, Zabuza-senpai. My name is Chojuro, the boy stammered as he made a polite bow. You have the Hiramakari? What the hell happened to Mangetsu? Zabuza asked in disbelief. Mangetsu-senpai sadly shut up, it was a rhetorical question. If you have his preferred sword, I can figure out what happened to him, an irritated Zabuza growled. He then stared at the intimidated young man a bit more. You're a kid. How old are you, 10? Actually, I'm 17, Chojuro meekly said before returning to Mei's side. The other swordsman, the red-headed girl, walked to Zabuza, ready to introduce herself. Another little kid? You've turned the 7 swordsmen into a nursery. Zabuza said, before the girl could introduce herself. I'm 18, you moron. And what I lack in height, I make up for in sheer deadliness. I bet killed more people than you, the kunoichi protested. I find that unlikely, brat, Zabuza scoffed. Now, Zabuza-chan, don't be like that. Amuri Ringo proved to be worthy of the blade she carries, and so did Chojuro. Don't let their youth make you underestimate them, Mei interceded. Will you stop call me Zabuza-chan? Zabuza shouted indignantly. Absolutely not, Zabuza-chan, Mei replied with the most condescending and mocking smile she could. Deciding the discussion was over, Mei then walked towards Haku, who so far had remained silent for the whole meeting. Report said Zabuza had an apprentice of the Yuki clan. Is that you? Mei asked. Haku looked at both Zabuza and Jiraya. The 2 of them nodded at him. Yes, Mei-sama, it's me. My name is Haku Yuki. A pleasure to meet you, Haku said, as he made a slight bow. Mei smiled tenderly. Such polite boy. Can I see a demonstration of your powers? Haku nodded and placed his hands in front of each other, as if grabbing an invisible object. Suddenly, a small ball of ice appeared between his hands, rotating around itself. Impressive. Good to see that at least one clan survived the bloodline purges, Mei stated in satisfaction. Do you want to hire Haku too for your campaign? Jiraya asked, a bit uneasy. While he was okay with letting Zabuza go, he wasn't so eager to lose the chance to give Konoha a new bloodline limit-bearing clan. Yes, but not just him, Mei replied, much to Jiraya's confusion. So far, we've been fighting a guerrilla war, not having enough numbers for a proper assault, but that's going to change soon. You see, my pirate fleet is very lucrative, and has amassed quite an amount of wealth during the past years. Now is the moment to put that wealth to good use, and use it to expand our forces. Konoha made quite a display of power during the last few Chunin exams, especially the one that took place here. I'm very interested in the ninja of that generation that Haku-kun here belongs to. But I know that Konoha has a lot more to offer than that as well. Why us? Konoha and Kiri have always been enemies. Why do you think we should help you? Hiruzen asked. You answered yourself, none of Kirigakure's allies would help me oust Yagura, so of course going to their enemies would be the best option, Mei explained. Besides, given the way you stopped both the Uchiha insurrection and Orochimaru's invasion, I'd say Konoha's ninja have a lot experience when it comes to warfare. I think I'll take that as a compliment, Jiraya unsurely replied. Anyway, how much money are you willing to spend, Miss Terumi? Mei's smile curved even more. I was expecting you to ask that, Hokage Dano, and I'm sure that the answer won't disappoint you. Turns out Mei was right. She was willing to spend a lot of money. The money she spent to have Zabuza released from probation was nothing compared to all the money she brought with her. And while all that money could allow her to hire literally hundreds of Konoha ninja, the Mizukage hopeful decided that she preferred quality over quantity. Her first choices were the squads formed by the generation known as the Konoha 15, of which Naruto and Haku were part of, as well as their respective sensei. Her next choice were Jiraya and Tsunade themselves. Jiraya had to decline the offer, since he was a Kage, he didn't do missions and was needed at the village. Tsunade also disagreed, not just because her responsibilities at the Konoha hospital, but because she was no longer a ninja. Still, she ensured Mei that the medics of the medical squad were the next best thing after her. Mei wanted to recruit Itachi Uchiha as well, but unfortunately he was out of the village doing a long-term intelligence gathering mission. Fortunately, Shursui was available to go, the fact that his wife was going was a big boon. That means that little Shiro would be left under Jiraya and Tsunade's care until the two of them returned. By the time Mei ran out of money, she had hired 122 Konoha ninja, 47 jonin and special jonin and 75 chunin. Many people might think it was an insignificant number, given the scale of the campaign the rebel leader was embarked on, but if Jiraya's word that those ninja were the best Konoha had to offer at the moment, she had high hopes they would be enough to tip the balance in her favor. Lastly, Mei also asked for Zabuza's other two accomplices, Goizu and Meizu, the so-called demon brothers. Given that they weren't as big of a threat or an asset as Zabuza, Jiraya agreed to hand them to Mei. Well, it was a pleasure doing business with you, Miss Terumi, Jiraya stated once the contract forms had been filled and signed. When do you plan to go back to the land of water? As soon as possible. Tomorrow morning we shall return to the ships, so make sure your ninja are ready to go by then, Mei replied. They will, I can assure you that. Now, is there anything else you'd want to discuss before you go? Jiraya asked. As a matter of fact, yes. There's an important fact about Yagura that you and your ninja need to know, Mei began. If you're going to tell me that he's a Jinchuriki, I already know that, Jiraya replied, as he crossed his arms. Mei was taken aback. Her visible eye was wide open in shock, her mouth agape. How did you know? Jiraya smirked. Despite being a married man, he loved whenever he managed to impress or surprise beautiful young women. Before being Hokage, I used to run Konoha's spy and intelligence network. Do a certain series of events, I had to conduct an extensive research on tailed beasts and their Jinchuriki. Said research was rather fruitful. Konoha knows the identity of all 9 Jinchuriki, as well as what tailed beast they hold, Jiraya explained, though it was more of a boast. Really impressive, Mei conceded. And do you know the level of control said Jinchuriki have over their beasts? In some cases. I know that one of Kyomo's Jinchuriki, the Raikage's brother, has perfect control over his tailed beast. The rest all have a varied range of control, though they aren't that big of a threat by themselves, Jiraya replied. Well, in that case, let me provide you with some additional intel. Yagura also has perfect control over his tailed beast, Mei stated. This time, it was Jiraya, Tsunade and Hiruzen's turn to be surprised. What? Hiruzen asked in surprise. That is troubling news, Tsunade interceded. If the enemy has a perfect Jinchuriki, then your war has become much harder to win. I know. That's why I was banking on your son the Jinchuriki to balance things out, Mei replied, and before the others could have any chance to ask, she added, yes, I know your son is a Jinchuriki. Of the 9 tails, no less. Is not that hard to guess if one connects the dots, starting from the eponymous beast's attack on Konoha almost 15 years ago. Sadly, while I did train Naruto to the best of my ability, and he has grown into a fine and powerful ninja, we've made little progress when it comes to control the 9 tails chakra, Jiraiya sadly admitted. Mei visibly deflated. Then we don't have any means to match Yagura's power. Still, we have to keep trying. Actually, Naruto might be of help. He might not be able to use the 9 tails chakra on his whim, but he is a master of senjutsu, Tsunade interceded. That piece of information caught Mei's attention, who seemed to grow hopeful once again. Senjutsu? Your son is a sage? How? He's so young. Mei asked, clearly surprised. But if what you say is true, then we might still have a chance. By the way, Miss Terumi, I noticed something. If you were interested in Naruto-kun, then that means that there are no Jinchuriki among your ranks, Hiruzen deduced. Does that means the Jinchuriki of the 6 tails is also loyal to Kirigakure? Mei shook her head. Utakata is loyal to no one. He refused to serve Yagura, and thus he left the village, becoming a missing nin. My spies managed to locate him before Yagura did, and I personally tried to persuade him to join us, but he refused to get involved in the war. Well, that's one thing less to worry about, Jiraiya stated. Are you sure he will remain neutral? That's the impression I got the time I spoke to him. In fact, he was planning to leave the land of water altogether, Mei replied. All right then, if there's nothing left to discuss, then we're finished here, Jiraiya stated. I agree. I'll go to prepare for the journey back, Mei replied. Konoha Hospital. That afternoon Rin had just finished to check the last patient for the morning, and decided to go to the hospital's cafeteria in order to have some light snack before resuming her shift. However, before she could get there, an old friend of hers made himself known. Yo! Rin turned around and saw Kakashi perched on an open window. Oh, hello, Kakashi, Rin greeted, showing a hint of a smile. What can I do for you? I just wanted to tell you that I'm going to leave for a long-term mission. I don't know how long it will last, but it can be weeks, even months, the copy ninja gravely said. Oh, Rin held her hands a bit worried. What is this mission about? My team and I, as well as many other Konoha ninja, have been hired to take part in the Kirigakure Civil War, Kakashi announced. The mere mention of Kirigakure made her heart stop for a second. The hidden mist. It was the ninja of that village who started everything. The ones who turned her into a Jinchuriki, forcing her to commit suicide, which was unfortunately witnessed by the still-living Obito, which in turn pushed him to join a terrorist organization that eventually resurrected her. She still had nightmares in which Kiri Ninja returned to take her back and do unspeakable things to her. She did learn about the still ongoing civil war when she was catching up on all the events she missed the years she was inside that cocoon. Truth be told, she didn't care much which side won, and hoped that conflict wouldn't splat Konoha. Her hopes had been cruelly crushed. Well, I wanted to tell you that if you see that time passes and we don't return, so you don't think the worst has happened, Kakashi tried to reassure her. Rin looked pensive, but still worried. She bit her lip while trying to figure out what to say, but Kakashi beat her to the punch. So how have you been? Kakashi asked, even if he knew what her answer would be. Okay, I guess. I think I'm finally getting used to this new future Konoha, even if it took me some time, Rin replied. Thankfully, I don't need to go to any of those seminars to update my medical knowledge anymore. I can't believe how much our medicine has advanced since I was absent. Well, you can thank Tsunade-sama for coming back to the village. Thanks to her, we now have the best medic nin of the whole elemental nations, Kakashi stated, then he added, of which you are part now. I may be a medic, but I'm not a ninja anymore, Rin sadly said, her statement being followed by an awkward silence. Feeling the mood was way too somber, the copy ninja decided to change the topic. I see you're getting taller. Whatever Obito did you, it didn't hamper your natural growth. Rin chuckled, as her body visibly relaxed. Yeah. I've never been so happy to see that my clothes didn't fit anymore. It's a good thing, because otherwise you would never be able to go out to drink at night with me and the others, Kakashi replied awkwardly, placing his hand behind his head. Rin giggled a bit as well. Well, I can still hang out with you guys, even if I can't drink yet. And even if it's kind of weird for a teen to hang out with grown men and women. Hopefully in the future, we'll look back at this moment, and we'll all laugh. Anyway, I better get going. Wish me luck, the silver-haired Jonin said before leaving. Actually, Rin said too late. She groaned, and resumed her way to the cafeteria. Once there, she sat in one of the tables, and tried to push what Kakashi had told her out of her mind. However, it wasn't possible. She wouldn't have given any thought if it was any other village, but Kiri? The memories were too strong, and too painful. It was partially thanks to what happened during her final mission that she has been unable to return to active duty. And now, Kiri came back to her doorstep, to finish what it started so many years ago. It's okay. I don't need to get myself involved in this, she said aloud. Kakashi and the others will come back safe and sound. There's no need to worry. But she was worried. Very worried. It couldn't be a coincidence that Konoha was once again involved with that accursed village. Then again, it may had never stopped being involved, since there was one of the infamous 7 swordsmen working for the village for a couple years now. And she had the dreadful sensation that something horrible was going to happen. Pushing her fears aside, she stood up, and took a decision. Hokage's office, come in. Jiraya said after somebody knocked on his door. The door opened, revealing Rin Noera, better known as the girl who came back from the dead. So far, she had kept a low profile while working at the hospital. Kakashi hoped that, by giving her space, maybe one day she'll feel ready to return to active duty. According to the silver-haired man, she had the potential to be almost as good as Tsunadeheim when it comes to medicine. Ah, good afternoon, Rin, Jiraya greeted the girl with a sincere grin. What can I do for you? Hokage-sama. I came here to ask you for a favor, Rin politely asked. Well, I'm all ears. Rin took a deep breath, as if she needed to mentally prepare what she wanted to say. Jiraiya suspected it would be something big, and he wasn't wrong. I wish to take part in the mission to Kirigakure, the medic nin finally said. Jiraiya was taken aback. For a girl who spends so much time away from battle, and her history with that village, it was rather shocking. He think there may be a problem, Jiraiya replied, after the shock wore off. You see, the leader of the rebels has already spent all her money hiring other ninja. You weren't part of the selection process since you weren't in active duty. I don't care. I'll go for free. Rin pleaded. Please, Hokage-sama, I need to go. Isn't this too much of a leap? I mean, you've been off duty for more than a year, and now you want to get involved in a war? Especially in Kirigakure. Given your history with that village, I never imagined you'd want to get involved, the Toad Sage told her. I know. It sounds so nonsensical, but that's exactly why I need to go, Rin asked. I need to face Kirigakure again if I ever want to move on. Jiraya didn't say anything, as he pondered what to do, before he finally took a decision. Alright then, you can go. Given you used to be teammates, you'll be a temporary aggregate to Kakashi's animal squad. Stay close to him and do everything she says, understood? Rin beamed with joy. A weird way to react to know you're going to a war, but then again, she asked for it in the first place. Understood, Hokage-sama. Thank you for this, Rin said as she repeatedly bowed before him. The next day, as Jiraiya had promised, all the Konoha ninja May had hired for her rebellion were already in Konoha's northern gate, ready to go to the land of water. Some of the ninjas there, such as Kakashi, Rin, and Guy, were veterans of the Third War, while most of them weren't, and their closest experience to war were either Orochimaru's invasion attempt a year ago, and/or the Uchiha insurrection. Regardless of this, all of them couldn't help but feel nervous. Going to war was way above the average mission, even those ranked as S. Many of them were talking among each other, mostly to entertain themselves before it was time to go. Haku-kun, given that you're from the land of water, how do you feel about going back? Hinata asked her teammate. Guess that you'll be happy to return to your previous home and help to liberate it, Naruto added. Truth be told, I hardly think in the land of water as my home anymore, Haku began. I've been living in Konoha for so much time, coupled with the fact that that place was where I lost my original family. You can imagine my feelings towards that place are mixed at best. That's really sad. I can't imagine myself having such feelings for Konoha, Hinata mentioned. Even with all the bad things that happened here. Konoha had the luck of being ruled by just men, and not bloodthirsty tyrants, Haku observed. Something that wasn't always the case in Kirigakure's case. But thankfully our help to the rebellion will put an end to that, Naruto optimistically stated. Haku-kun, in case everything goes fine, what are you going to do? Hinata fearfully asked. I know Hokage-sama allowed you to leave with Zabuza-san the moment the latter finishes his probation. Honestly, I don't know, Haku admitted. I don't want to leave Konoha. I made many friends and even have a girlfriend here. But my loyalty will always be with Zabuza-sama. If he returns to Kirigakure and wants me to go back with him, I have no choice. Why don't you tell Zabuza you're happy here, and ask him to stay? Naruto asked. I can't do that. My debt with Zabuza-sama is one I will never be able to repay. Asking more is simply unthinkable, Haku replied. While Naruto and Hinata were unable to understand such train of thought, they decided to respect it nonetheless, even if they really wanted to tell Haku to make his own decisions regardless of what Zabuza said. What about Tenten? Aren't you going to tell her about this? Naruto asked. You might have to break up with her. Haku sighed again. I've been trying to bring up the topic, booty just can't bring myself to have this conversation with her. I know I have to sooner or later, but it's really hard for me. I hope Zabuza allows you to stay here once the war ends, Naruto said. Or else, the team will be down to Hinata and I. And I don't want some newbie upstaging your place. I hope that too. But for the time being, we should focus on the mission at hand, Haku declared. The three ninjas saw their sensei walking towards them, with a small smile on her lips. I heard we'll be going soon. Are you guys ready? The raven-haired woman asked her students. Yup. You bet we are. Naruto proudly declared. You know, I've always wanted an opportunity to test everything I learned during the past years. The missions we got weren't all that big. You might find this way too big for your taste, Naruto, Kurenai advised. Even if I do agree that you've grown powerful, there are always enemies out there ready to show you how weak you are. Besides, Mei-san wants you to help her fight the Mizukage, who is a perfect Jinchuriki. Even with your sage mode, he's an opponent not to be underestimated, Haku warned him. I know, and I'll be ready. I have a new jutsu capable of harming even a tailed beast, Naruto boasted. Hinata then turned around, noticed something. Oh look, there's Mei-san. Everybody's attention was drawn to the woman who would be their new boss for the foreseeable future. She was flanked by the 3 of the 7 swordsmen loyal to her. Everybody stood to attention as she was ready to give a speech. "It seems that all of you are here, good," Mei began, as she inspected the ninja in the front rows. "I know you're Konoha ninja, but as long as this campaign lasts, you will only be loyal to me. Fear not, since I won't test your loyalty by making you go against your village's interests. Your only enemies will be Yagura's men. Time is of essence, so we need to move fast. We will travel to the east until we reach the coast. There, I have a transport ship prepared to carry all of you to my base. Once we reach there, we will plan our next move." Now if somebody has any questions, several hands were up. "I suggest you to keep them to yourselves until we reach my main base." All hands went down, as some ninja started to murmur. "Well, I hope you guys are ready, because we're leaving now. So everybody, move." Mei ordered as she and her entourage began their march towards the west coast. While they took a couple seconds to react, the large group of Konoha ninja quickly began to move, following their temporary boss into the thick forests of the Land of Fire. Back in Konoha, Hokage's office, after seeing the Konoha ninjas hired by Mei, his son among them, finally leave for Kirigakure, Jiraiya returned to his never-ending pile of work. Of course, it didn't last long until the monotony of his work would be disturbed. An ANBU appeared in front of him. "Hokage-sama, there's somebody who wants to see you," the ANBU informed. Weird. "I don't have any appointments until 1 in the afternoon, Jiraiya replied. "Tell that person to ask for an appointment like everybody else. It's not some random person, Hokage-sama, but Danzo Shimura," the ANBU uneasily clarified. Now that was something that got Jiraiya's attention. Despite being part of the Council of Elders, Danzo rarely showed up to the meetings, nor voiced any concerns over the way the Toad Sage ran the village. Until now, that's it. While reluctant, Jiraiya decided that he could spare a moment to hear him out. "Tell him to come in." "As you wish, Hokage-sama," the ANBU said before vanishing. A couple seconds later, the door of his office opened, revealing the crippled one-eyed man that was both his sensei's longtime friend and sworn rival. "Danzo, what a surprise." "Take a seat, please," Jiraiya said in a painfully fake polite tone. Not paying attention to that, the elder did as Jiraiya told him. "What do I owe this visit?" Jiraiya asked. Albeit deep down, he knew the answer. "I've recently been informed that you allowed a contingent of some of our best ninjas be deployed to intervene in Kirigakure's civil war," the war hawk began. "I wish to know why I haven't been told the moment this decision was made. Last time I checked, the Hokage doesn't have to answer to anybody, so I don't think I owe you any explanation of what I do," Jiraiya replied. "Quite fooling around, Jiraiya," Danzo snapped, without losing his usual cool. "Getting involved in another village's affair is something that needs to be discussed with the council, so the best decision can be reached. First of all, it's Hokage-sama to you," Jiraiya gravely replied, as he fixed a hard glare on the war hawk, who wasn't perturbed. "Second, I didn't randomly decide to have Konoha be part of their civil war. The leaders of one of the sides hired some of our ninjas to boost their forces. It's a job just like any other." "That's a lie, and you know it," Danzo replied. "A group of ninja of such scale, coupled with the skill of many of its members, can easily tip the balance of the civil war. And that's a bad thing because?" Jiraiya asked, clearly not following the elder. "The faster the civil war ends, the more lives won't be senselessly wasted. Those lives are of foreign people, and thus not our concern," Danzo coldly dismissed. Jiraiya chuckled. "See? That line of thinking is why you were always passed over the title of Hokage." Despite such a shot, Jiraiya failed to get a reaction out of Danzo. "And are you so willing to save lives even if it comes at the cost of our ninja?" Danzo questioned. "I know many ninja won't come back home, but that's a risk they are aware of," Jiraya rebutted, as he crossed his arms. But like I said, this isn't an humanitarian mission. Mei paid for the ninja she took with her. We never discriminated any client before, and I see no reason to start now. Don't you see it? The longer the civil war continues, the more Kirigakure will be weakened. And if they don't end up destroying themselves, we could have easily finished off the winner, erasing a longtime enemy and competition of Konoha, Danzo explained. And then Konoha would have reaped the benefits of their chaos, such as any survivor with a bloodline limit, and some of the swords of the seven swordsmen. Given what you did with Zabuza and Haku, I thought that was your long-term plan, but it seems you're not as interested in strengthening Konoha as much as I thought. Jiraiya found Danzo's accusation insulting, but thought it would be better not to let him be carried away by his emotions. I wouldn't have accepted this job if I didn't have Konoha's best interest at heart, and if you had a more open mind, you'd see the benefits of this transaction. Such as? If we manage to help Mei overthrow Yagura, we will gain a powerful ally, given that, even if she did pay for our help, she will owe part of her victory to us, Jiraiya started to explain. With Suna and Kiri as our allies, Iwa and Kyumo won't be as eager to start wars against us like they did in the past. Incidents like the Hyuga affair won't happen again. Alliances cannot be trusted. A friend today can become an enemy tomorrow. What will be of us if any of our so-called allies betray us? We have to learn to be self-reliant, or else destruction will be our only fate, Danzo stated. Trust me, I made everything in my power to make Konoha strong, but alliances are never to be dismissed. That's why, even if we encourage all of our ninja to train to become stronger, they go to missions in squads and not alone, Jiraiya replied. The Sannin was starting to lose his patience. You wanted to know why I allowed Mei to acquire the services of our village, and now you know it. As a Hokage, I'm a very busy man, so if you don't have any more grievances to discuss, I'd like to resume my work. Danzo seemed to accept the end of the discussion, as he stood up and moved towards the door, but before opening his mouth one last time. You'll regret this decision, Hokage, Danzo gravely told him. Jiraiya's eyes narrowed, as he glared at Danzo. Is that a threat? It's a warning. And it's not me I'm warning you about, the head of Roots stated before leaving the room. Roots' headquarters, sometime later while the old war hawk was an expert at suppressing his emotions, there were times, such as now, in which he wished he could scream into the sky and let all his rage away. But he knew from experience that such actions brought short-term relief at the expense of long-term consequences. Not that it made him feel any better. Days like today make him lament losing Shursue's Sharingan to the Akatsuki. With the power of that unique eye, he could have manipulated all the right people in order to get himself promoted to Hokage. But alas, fate had a different plan, and favored the enemy that day, in more ways than one. Jiraiya was pretty much a follower of Hiruzen's philosophy of seeking peace and creating bonds with other villages, instead of crushing them when they're down so Konoha can reign supreme. And it wasn't the first time that he was told that his refusal to adhere to such way of thinking cost him being Hokage. Danzo had to admit there was some truth to Fugaku Uchiha's words regarding the clan's reasons to launch a coup d'état. Every Hokage was related to the previous one in some way. Tobirama was Hashirama's brother. Hiruzen was Tobirama's apprentice. Jiraiya was Hiruzen's apprentice, and Minato was Jiraiya's. And given Naruto's meteoric rise in power and prestige, it was more than likely that he will become the next Hokage once Jiraiya retired. He wouldn't say Hiruzen was a bad Hokage, at least on paper. His old friend was powerful, experienced, wise, and knowledgeable. He had all the desirable traits a Kage should have. However, his childlike naivete and delusions about forgiveness and peace made him a wrong choice. The ninja world was cruel, with no place for childish ideals, and no way to be changed. The only way to survive was to be more cruel than your enemies. As soon as he entered his lair, his two strongest and most loyal agents appeared besides him. Danzo-sama, Fu, the Yamanaka redhead, greeted him. How was the meeting with the Hokage? As fruitless as I had feared. I'm afraid that there's nothing we can do now, Danzo replied. Maybe we can send some agents to sabotage Kirigakure while they're fighting? Toryun, the masked Aburame, suggested. Danzo shook his head. For such idea to work, would have needed to know about Konoha's intervention well in advance. However, not everything is lost. Fortunately, I managed to sneak an infiltrator among the group which left with the Kiri ninja. At the very least, we'll obtain some valuable information about our enemies. 3 days later, aboard Mei's ship the Konoha ninja managed to reach the coast in 2 days, just as Mei was hoping. Thanks to their celerity, they were able to board the ship in no time and head towards the land of water. Then, it would be an estimate of 3 days until they reached Mei's main base and planned the offensive. Sadly, 3 days was too much, and the ship was too small for sparring, or even doing any kind of exercise. So the only way to pass the time was talking with others, eating, or, if you were lucky enough to have a significant other aboard, making out. Unfortunately for Sakura, the latter option wasn't available to her, despite the object of her affections being on board. Oh well, since she had nothing better to do, she might as well try to change that. Like most people, Sasuke was in the deck, resting against a railing with his arms crossed and his usual, I don't give a damn about anything, expression. Without saying anything, Sakura walked towards him, and rested her arms on the railing while she gazed at the expanse of water before her eyes. I've never seen the ocean before. So much water, Sakura casually mentioned. Even if Sasuke appeared to pay her no mind, she had learned that the Uchiha was indeed listening. It's so beautiful, don't you think? Maybe at first, but it gets boring really quickly, the Uchiha replied. Hope we can get to land of water as soon as possible. Where's the hurry? You should try to enjoy the trip a bit more. I mean, it's not every day we can get a sea trip, right? Sakura asked. I've never been a fan of this kind of things. But at the very least, it gives me time to think, Sasuke replied, as his eyes sharpened. Sakura turned around, resting her back on the railing, and looked at Sasuke with a sincere smile. And do you mind sharing what are you thinking right now? See that guy over there? The one drawing a picture? Sasuke mentioned. Sakura scanned the crowd before her, until she saw the boy Sasuke was talking about. A pale-looking, black-haired boy, dressed in black, sitting on a chair, working on a picture. What about him? Sakura asked, as a dreadful thought crawled up her back. Oh please, don't tell me you're into guys, Sasuke-kun, that boy appears to be the same age as us, yet I don't remember seeing him in the academy, Sasuke mentioned. Sakura inwardly sighed in relief, and addressed Sasuke's worries. Well, maybe he graduated before us? Then how is that we didn't see him in the Chunin exams? Neither the ones who took place in Konoha, nor the ones in which you and Karen graduated, Sasuke observed. And before you said that maybe he's still a genin, remember that this is an S-rank mission. No genin would be allowed. You think there's something fishy about him? Sakura asked. Sasuke nodded. It's a gut feeling, but there's something about that guy that makes me distrust him. I see. Do you want me to go and talk to him? Maybe I can get something out of him, Sakura offered, knowing very well that for all his talents as a ninja, Sasuke wasn't the most social person. I'd appreciate it, Sasuke replied. Sakura nodded, and headed towards the drawing boy. Walking to him from behind, she took a look first at the picture he was drawing. While it appeared he was drawing the oceanic scenery, it was an abstract picture. That would be an excellent topic to break the ice. Nice picture, Sakura praised, her tone soft enough as not to startle the pale boy. I don't know much about art, but it looks really pretty. The boy turned around, and smiled at her. Thank you. I'm Sakura Haruno, by the way, the pinkette said as she extended her hand at Sai, which he took. Nice to meet you. My name is Sai, and the feeling is mutual, Sai replied, keeping that smile all the way. The stiffness of his obviously fake smile was making Sakura a bit uncomfortable. You can stop smiling now, Sakura awkwardly said. Oh, sorry. I read in a book that a smile is a good way to show others your friendliness, Sai explained, much to Sakura's bewilderment. But if I'm making you feel uneasy, I'll stop, ugly. Sakura's eye twitched, as her teeth gritted. The hell did you call me? Oh, I also read in a book that giving nicknames is a good way to connect with people, and the best nicknames are those who define the dash, Shinaro. Sai suddenly found himself at the opposite end of one hell of a right hook, which sent the pale boy flying out of the ship and into the ocean. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, smash that like button and subscribe for more content. Support the original author by clicking their profile link in the pinned comment of the first video of this series. They deserve the love. Want early access and exclusive content? Join my Patreon community, link below. Your support fuels these videos. Drop a comment with your thoughts, and I'll catch you in the next video. Stay entertained. Stay safe.